Everybody, wait a minute. like, what I like, what I like, what I like, what I like. Yo, 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 yo. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of I Mix What I Like right here at Black Power Media. Again, I'm Jared Ball. My main man Geechee's with me. Diallo might show up. What's going on, sir? How you feeling this morning?
Feeling well, man. How about you? Happy belated birthday.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I feel good.
Yeah,
I mean, I did get COVID, but knock on wood. I mean, I'm supposed to. I think today is my last quarantine day. I mean, you know, I don't want to turn this into a whole thing, but vaccines and healthy living, it was barely a cold. So,
right.
I don't know. I'm just saying, but I feel good, man. How you feeling?
All right, man. My birthday actually coming up on the 13th, but this year I'm decided to go backwards. So I'm trying to stay away from 40. So I'm going down in age. I'm on the 13th.
I mean, it's been working for my wife. I think the older she's been, I think we just passed our 18th anniversary, and I think the oldest she's been is I think she might have hit 25 at one point. I don't think she's gone past 25 yet. So
yeah, I'm gonna stay at 39 and go backwards.
I'm good with 51, man. I'm good. But I also got my new long sleeve, BPM. Look who the cat dragged in back from international travel.
Good day, Mike.
The planet.
Hey, Mike.
Upsetting the planet.
Hey, let him talk first, because I think he done caught an accent from over there. What's up, man?
I know how to say vegan in Italian.
Oh yeah.
I learned how to say vegan.
Peace. Thank you. Yeah. Well, good. Well, welcome back on this side. Any updates from over there? Anything we can
Well, I got out of town the day before the fascists returned to power.
Right.
And I got to see some of the neo-Roman architecture set up by Mussolini. And he tricked me. Mussolini tricked me because I thought it was like actual ancient Roman architecture. And this Italian lady told me, no, Mussolini did that shit. He just made it look like it was old world Roman architecture, but that's actually Mussolini.
Hey.
He did that shit. I'm like, oh, he just so Mussolini. He tricked me.
The gangsters of propaganda, man.
Yeah, his bootleg as Roman architecture. So yeah, he tricked me. I'm like, oh, the grandeur, and she was like, that ain't shit. Mussolini put that shit up.
He built that shit last week.
Right. Got me. I was about to post that shit on Instagram, like, oh, look at this history.
And you've been just like every other influencer, front.
Yeah. So anyway,
in front of your fake Lamborghini and your rented villa.
Well, no, I was in the migrant slums. Y'all know me. Y'all know how I get down. I was over in the migrant slums, so buying fake Gucci.
Okay.
So if y'all do see me out here styling, it's all bootleg. I bought in the migrant slums from the brothers, the Gambian and the brothers from Guinea over there. Everything I brought back was bootleg.
Go ahead, give us some words you learned, man. What's the word you learned? Let me get
I learned vegano and vegana. So the masculine and feminine. That's all I needed to know. I walk in the restaurant like vegano, vegana. That's all.
Wait, saying vegan is gendered?
Yes.
Well, it's just like Spanish.
Yeah, just like Spanish. Yeah. So it's vegano. If the food you're asking for is masculine, it's vegano. And if it's food you're asking for, it's feminine, it's vegana. But if you don't know which is which, you're safe to go just with vegano. Maybe vegano. I see what I can do, So,
okay.
That's all I learned. Just how to ask for vegan food in Italian.
Yeah.
That's it. And I only learned that because it's very close to
done.
the English vegan. So that's the only reason I know that. I don't learn.
Yeah, that's
Y'all
pretty
know,
close.
I ain't trying to learn nothing.
Man,
I think
yeah, don't get me started on that.
political,
Yeah.
all things political in different languages, they all got the same word.
Yeah,
Right,
you
so
know, I went to on a tour of the catacombs of the catacombs of Napoli, and I went into their grand Catholic cathedrals, and they had these femur bones and tarpal and metacarpal bones, which are your finger bones. And they had these mummified hearts of the saints and relics, and it kind of blows my mind how Black people think Vodun is weird and think that African rituals are weird when, you know, literally they have European Christians praying on top of corpses of dead monarchs, you know, and the bones and and just exposed organs and body parts, you know. And so that's all I kept thinking the whole time I was in there, you know, looking at the grandeur that was Naples. And then we went over to Capri, which I thought would be an island getaway, and it was nothing but Gucci, Louis, Fendi, all that. It was so commercial. I mean, it was still something. I climbed a mountain, you know, and now that makes me even more weirded out by white people. Like, why do people climb mountains? What blood clot is that about?
To conquer something.
So, hey, I don't know. It was not a pleasant experience.
I don't mean to. Let me give credit to this. It kind of reminds me of I was binge watching a couple of years ago. My students put me on to that show that I just finally watched over the weekend. Adam Ruins Everything. Have you all ever seen that? It's a very well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very well produced show where this white dude busts up myths and only so far as to say, you know, but the good news is we're going to be able to, we can, you know, he's always got some good news where he can sort of keep things. But anyway, but one of the when you talk about walking up a hill, I just saw he did a little bit piece on the origin of the treadmill, that the treadmill was originally designed as a punishment for prisoners.
Wow.
To make them walk in a stationary, you know, whatever for however many, and now it's become a you know, a fitness trend
to get on there. People
and now you pay to go on there and walk virtually with anyway, I'm just saying, you know.
Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah, it's the old world. It's something old Christendom is very interesting. But you know, I also saw a lot of resistance graffiti because of fascists. You know, I'm not even joking. I had stumbled upon a like fascist rally. You know, because everywhere I go, I avoid the police, and you know, they got all these different cops and soldiers, and even though the civilians are unarmed, the cops over there carry like submachine guns. You know, they strapped for some reason over there. And so I came up on this fascist rally, and they had cordoned off the whole area. And then I had got lost trying to take the scenic route back because I didn't want to walk through, you know, all them freaking machine gun. I don't know. I think it was like Vatican cops and the provincial cops and the state police, and it's just, and they all got different uniforms, and they all look like they beefing with each other. You know, it's something else. You know, but anyway, it was a productive conference. You know, I was there. My wife was at a once in 5 year international community psychology conference to present her research. So that's why we were over there. So we was there for productive reasons. You know, y'all canceled the Friday show. A couple of weeks ago, Geechee was broadcasting from paradise with palm trees and shit. And then I'm like, now I'm on the beach. I got the landscape. And then you canceled the damn show. And I didn't get to go live with the landscape like Geechee did. That's the only reason I really went over there.
My apologies.
I was supposed to come back Wednesday, and I was like, I'm going to stay to Friday so I can have this landscape the next time we go live on the Mix Show.
My bad. My
I mean,
bad.
you got some earth plants back there. You good, man?
No,
It looks better there than in Naples. I'm pretty sure.
but I'm talking about your wherever the hell you was that day.
I'm in the country, man. I'm back in the country somewhere, in the woods.
Well, next time I'm gonna save up and try to get another good, decent, afford to go to another fly ass backdrop. So don't cancel on me next time.
I'll
I
do the
save up
best I
to go
can.
somewhere.
There's supposed to be 2 more trips for me in the next couple of months. And one of the shows will be canceled because it will be broadcast. I think that's October 22nd. So just playing around that. Because I'm going to be broadcasting live from The Hague.
Oh shit!
Damn.
Okay.
Yeah. Going back to The Hague to a Paul Robeson conference. Where I can go back to the International Criminal Court and ask the continental African working there, ask him again if there's ever been any Western Europeans tried in this court, and so I can get that funny look he gave me last time. He was like, "Don't come over here ask me stupid questions. We don't prosecute Western Europeans over here." Because you walk through the place and it's just African, Arab, Muslim, maybe a couple Eastern Europeans here or there, you know.
Right. They can get some Slavs.
Like,
I mean, you can set up for Slavs. They white. Ain't they white?
It depends who you're talking to.
You know, when you can't afford
No, that's what I was saying. And he was real tall too, man. And it was kind of funny. He was just looking down at me like, giving me that look like, don't mess with me on my job, man. I couldn't help it. I was like, man, has there ever been any Western Europeans prosecuted? He was like, no.
Well, the U.S. isn't a signatory, though. The U.S. didn't sign on.
I mean, that doesn't mean, that that they're going to go that far. That doesn't mean that they feel free. They're still on the same team at the end of the day.
Right.
But by the way, speaking of the same team, just before we were coming on this morning, I was watching, which is one of my favorite things to do now, is to watch the white left argue with each other. So I was watching a video hating on the fact that Jimmy Dore is praising, apparently, this newly elected Meloni in Italy. And apparently, I don't know, I'm watching all this secondhand by people criticizing him, but apparently he's being seen as supporting her because he's saying she was deemed a fascist because she was standing up to the COVID protocols, to the global globalist.
Jimmy Dore is not liberal, or even he's not leftist, and he's not even liberal.
I did this. Okay. I'm just saying, but to the point, the video I was watching, to the point, and this is what got me a couple years ago, was that his claim to fame was being an apparent critic of the liberals from the left.
Right.
That's what, and then he's kind of shifted over to say, wait, I can get a bigger audience
and money
by reaching out to the white populists, whatever.
That's where the money reside. That's what. But you know what's even scarier to me? I saw militant black nationalists post the inaugural speech of the new Italian prime minister. And they literally put in the comments, we must surround her and protect her.
What?
Because she's resonating with black nationalists as well. Because she is, number one, talking about the family and protecting the family and reasserting and reestablishing the family as the core unit of society. She also said she wants to take on the globalist and the internationalist. She also said that there are the man and woman, husband and wife. And so she's jumping into the culture war and establishing and asserting that there are only two genders and genders are fixed at birth. So she's saying, actually, the Italian fascists are saying a lot of things that resonate with black nationalists and black reactionaries. And Black nationalists and reactionaries are actually not only sharing her speech, but saying that she must be protected from the globalists and the internationalists as they mobilize against this new politician.
I mean, a Black nationalist and reactionary not synonymous now at this point?
Well, it depends. We got to, there are variations of Black nationalism now, and we're going to look at one. We're going to look at one later because we are going to look at that clip. I do want to watch some of that clip.
We need to look some of that. Did you see at your Bitcoin conference summit? Did you see the opening cartoon display? You should.
What do you mean the opening cartoon display?
Like at the beginning? Well, I guess on the video at least. On the video at the beginning, there's this cartoon of these Black Bitcoin superheroes saving the world. Like I thought y'all was forced to
listen. If folks are interested and haven't seen it already, I did do the last show I did an extended discussion of more or less of my time at that conference. I don't want to repeat everything, but that makes sense that they would have done that. I mean, it was a festival of fantasy from my perspective. And again, shout out to Sinclair Skinner and people like that who I do believe to be sincere in their attempts.
I be trying.
We just disagree.
I be trying, man. Me and Sinclair have a common friend, and I saw something that he said on the beginning of the video, and he literally said something about like they didn't have to come over there. The Europeans didn't have to come over there to attack us and shoot us and rape us. They could have negotiated. But then when you look at his little Bitmark website, he has non-negotiable Africans, Thomas Sankara, Patrice Lumumba, and it's like he want to negotiate with somebody who raped and killed your. That doesn't make no logical sense. But so I've never really heard Sinclair say anything that was like, no.
No, I mean we just disagree. The times we've spoken, I get a sincere vibe from him that he believes that this is a pathway, and it's something that I do want to talk a little bit about because I did get my copy of The Negro is Capitalist from Abram Harris and started reading it late last night, early this morning. And I will say this, for me, this past week, I always struggle with motivation and focus, but that has been the biggest impact for me of my experience with COVID this far. Just being able to focus and whatever. So I've been a little slower than even normal. But I do want to come to this because my point is that that Sinclair and others, I think, would be in the category that I would consider of well-meaning but misguided by the propaganda and the mythology. And what Harris points to, and I'm so glad I started reading this book, is that the mythology has been very strong, maybe stronger for longer than I even realized. So and again, among even well-meaning people. So but beyond that, I mean, it's pure fantasy over there. And then a lot of hustling too. I mean, people are clearly trying to, they've seen just sort of the economic version of what we were saying, or the business version of what we were saying, the Black business version of what we were saying Jimmy Dore is doing. The bag gets bigger when you confront for white capital. So,
I mean, I think well-meaning sounds good. And then also when I think about impact, it's really hard for me to talk about well-meaning. Like even the sister, not Kezia, but the other sister who's Kezia's friend. I mean, I just briefly look at, and I think I sent y'all it, but I briefly look at her social media profile, and like she's like saying stuff about the 529 plan, and you can see she's literally reading stuff that she don't really understand, and she's kind of presenting it as she just learned it. But at the same time, like all the economists, Derek Hamilton, whoever, can tell you how problematic the 529 plan
but
is.
they don't read this stuff though. That's the thing. So like they get the propagated bullet points. And then they claim that's what was surreal for me when Kezia was telling me that I'm just the useless academic that never brings any data. And I'm saying, but I'm literally bringing the data that shows your bullet pointed propagated statements are factless. But it doesn't matter. She clearly got this. They get the bullets down. They're skillful in front of cameras and on microphones. I mean, so it's difficult. It's difficult. It's anyway. But I do want to come back to that. And then, by the way, if we have time this morning, and folks are interested, I do have a setup to do an answering critics, which is really answering some love that does involve, at least to a certain extent, all three of us. So if we have time, we can go through some of that, because there's actually a lot that's come in over the last few weeks. So I need to do an episode of that anyway. So if we have time and interest, and if not, maybe I'll just keep going at the end, whatever. Anyway. So that said, do we want to get right into these? What do we want to, there were a couple of things related to buying power I wanted to get to. And then I wanted to talk about the Abram Harris. And then I know we wanted to talk a little bit about this Justice Served series as well. So maybe should we start there and then go back to the buying power and the economics and the Abram Harris stuff and start with Justice Served? Is that, or do something? What do you think?
Yeah, we can start with Justice Served and get through that, because I don't know how many people watched it, or a lot of people. We probably be spoiling it for some people. So
there will be some spoilers, but I'm actually not going to. Well, we'll come to that in a second. So maybe some spoilers, maybe not. But let's just do a quick break and come back and talk about Justice Served. I mix what I like. Look at that. Gave me time to get that quick background transition change. Look at that. Bam. So just so folks can see and so they know, we're talking about Justice Served, this series on Netflix about Azania, literally and figuratively, I suppose, because one of the main characters right here is Azania, and it's in Azania. And it's a contemporary story, but it's about obviously the history of the anti-colonial struggle in Southern Africa. Geechee, go ahead and go first, or raise whatever you wanted to, because I'm not going to do any spoilers. I'm going to, because I want to encourage people to see it, Vernon philosophy notwithstanding, but. Anyway, go ahead.
Well, I guess I'll try not to do any spoilers either. But I mean, I think one of the things that, and I've shared it with like Ricky, Too Black, and a couple other people, just to see what they thought if they saw it. But I feel like there's a whole lot of, at least in the first few episodes, there's a whole lot of talking points or things to kind of talk about in terms of, well, it be how the state works. One of the things I'm thinking about, like a rhetorical ethic from Marimba Ani's. And then this whole idea of what is it? Damn, I'm forgetting the word. Statute of limitations, and how like people are valuing when and who should be charged for what. And then just me looking at how state agents who could be our family members, and how like the different layers. So you have like the police chief, you have the judge, and then you got like security guards. Right. And so, sometimes we would say, well, these people are innocent. But at the end of the day, like if a revolution or some kind of struggle take over, most of these people are going to be complicit with the cops. And then you'll see the cops are willing to, sacrifice their family just to kind of get, another level into the space. So I just think there's a whole bunch of contradictions. You obviously have your white girl savior type shit, I think that's in it, which is unfortunate.
They do go to that, but what is the phrase for this that they call it? Subverting expectations. Is that the phrase? There's a little bit of that in there. Like they that's what I'm saying. Like, the topic that engaged me, and when I started watching it and saw that it was at least serious in terms of production level and acting quality, you know, because at first I was like, is this going to be some, you know what I mean, like some soap opera, you know, after school special quality type stuff. But when I saw it wasn't that, I was like, okay. But then when they started popping up with the white girl and all this other stuff at the beginning, I was like, okay, here we go. I started predicting, but then they do a couple things. They do a couple things with that. That's what I'm saying. Like, I was fascinated by, first of all, I'm looking at it and I'm like, clearly, not that we didn't notice, but clearly the issues in South Africa or Azania have not been dealt with. Like, folks are clearly still dealing with class, colorism, colonialism. You know, is it do we do guerrilla warfare? Do we do voting? They talk about I mean, when I started hearing the names, I don't think it's a spoiler alert to say that when they start name dropping and I start hearing reference to Biko and Chris Hani, the one name I didn't hear is Winnie Mandela. I didn't hear any references to Winnie. You hear them play Nelson,
his voice,
but we didn't hear any reference to Winnie, which was, I was like, okay, that seems intentional and suspicious. But I was, you know, but they talk about MK, they talk about communism and the fear that it encouraged. They talk about, I mean, you know, the whole context of a live streamed trial where the country gets to vote on whether you're going to assassinate this white man on camera. I mean, there's a lot of, I mean, you got the and to your point, you got the Indian general, you got the black African brigadier, whatever her rank is up under him. You got all kinds of stuff going on. You got the clear reference to colored communities. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on in there. But anyway, go ahead. Yeah.
No, I wonder also, like, so I know, you know, Cabral had his thoughts and comments about our condition versus, you know, Africa condition, but I wonder how close you and also Diallo, y'all connect South Africa's struggle to our struggle. Is there any like I guess commonalities or things you see that's similar? Because I think
Diallo,
that also kind of, there's some things that it highlight, but
it is one struggle, and they have always been symbiotic struggles because the United States, without the support of the United States and military infrastructure, the South African minority white rule wouldn't have been able to, would be unsustainable. And even after the boycott of South Africa, the South African boycott emerged, the United States was using Israel as a proxy. Israel never accepted the boycott of South Africa or the apartheid government of South Africa. So Israel was still giving logistical, material, military weapon support to the minority rule in South Africa. And I know I've been wearing the Free South Africa medallion since back in 1989. You know, when I was in grade school and middle school, I was wearing the Free South Africa medallion. We all know AFRICA, Angola,
Puerto Rico,
right? And I was in New York when Mandela, you know, and I say this all the time: the Mandela they locked up was not the Mandela they released, you know. And so, and I followed the Truth and Reconciliation, which is when I knew the shit was done. There was no liberation and no justice coming from South Africa during when I was watching the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, which I was a college student at the time, and the way that played out. So there has always been a symbiosis of mutual support between the Black community and the our brothers and sisters in South Africa. And there's also the symbiosis of the oppressor, our oppressor here in the US, aiding and validating the oppression and the oppressive white minorities in South Africa. So it is a united and intertangled struggle.
Oh, no question. And so, and as you were asking the question, my first thought was, it's not whether I think there's a link. The link from the perspective of those in the white colonial world has been clear. The link from those in the anti-colonial world has been clear. So the Bikos, the Hanis, the Winnie Mandelas, the Nelson Mandelas, to Diallo's point, particularly at the beginning, early on in his struggle, they all looked intimately at the relationship between themselves and their white colonial, settler colonial imperialists, and what we here were dealing with in terms of white America. The differences were always taken into consideration, but they were always building off of each other, particularly the Black power, the Black and Biko's Black consciousness. He said all the time, borrowed heavily from the Black liberation struggle here, the Black power struggle here. Fanon talked about it, Malcolm, everybody made reference to these comparisons. But one of my favorites is that going back again, and I have to admit my study of this hasn't gone too far beyond this, but to that class I took with Professor Loxley Edmondson at the Africana Studies Research Center under the late, great Dr. James Turner as the founding director. And in that class, we read not only Mandela's biography and talked about his political construction, but we read Winnie Mandela's biography, autobiography, that is. What was it called? It's a much shorter book, but it was My Heart Went With Him or something to that. Somebody in the chat knows. Powerful. But we also read this book, I think it's called Loosing the Bonds, which is this huge book, and which was that starts off with and is largely a comparison between South Africa and the United States. And a couple of things that I remember, one in particular, is that going all the way back to this country's Civil War, there was a naval battle fought between the South and the North off the coast of South Africa for control over that region or access to that region. And what they were fighting over was who was going to get access to the white colonial support network that existed in South Africa at the time, well, to this day, but particularly at that time. The point being, they were looking internationally, that is both sides, North and South here, for support. And each were looking for and were happily going to find support from South Africa, the imperialist buddies over there. It was just a matter of which one of them was going to win that support, if I remember correctly. But that was so the comparisons. There's many in terms, and then there was one other thing from that book, if I remember. This is where we got it as well, where someone it was a discussion between a pro-segregationist white Southerner here and a pro-apartheid white Afrikaner there. And I'm forgetting which one said which, but the point was, what you need to do is get over the symbolic control you have over your African population. Allow some apparent shift of power symbolically to those Africans, and you'll gain more in the long run. That was the message that their partnership, their buddy was given to the other. I just can't remember who. Anyway, so the point is, I see a lot of connection. I read even watching this series as a connection in terms of struggle and response, et cetera, and so on. Why Winnie subjected herself to that nonsense, I'll never know. She stood up. She should have stood up and mooned the audience and walked. I don't know what Anthony is.
She's talking about in New York when she came to New York.
She was forced to become before the Truth and Reconciliation Commission.
Oh.
And Desmond the Coon Tutu issued a freezing order to freeze her assets and to arrest her, because he wanted to make an example of her, because the white men, the white officials who committed atrocities, when they refused to come before the true TRC, they were issued penalties. And Tutu said it would not be right for the men who mutilated, murdered, tortured Africans in support of apartheid, if they were issued sanctions for not appearing before the TRC, and then allow Winnie Mandela, who, in his words, committed atrocities in her fight against apartheid, would be allowed to not come forth and confess her crimes. Because the Truth and Reconciliation was, if you had committed crimes and you came before the TRC to confess your crimes, you would be let go. You would be absolved of the crimes. It's like a Catholic confessional. And when he said, I committed no crimes, you know, everything I did was just in the fight for the liberation of my people. So I have no crimes to confess. So why should I come to a confessional when I have no crimes to confess? And Tutu said, no, I disagree. And they set Tutu up to attack her because they knew the optics of the white panel members. So they sent out Tutu to be their attack dog on a leash. So she eventually acquiesced because of her resources. A lot of things were, you know, she just basically didn't have the support base, because a lot of the South Africans who had supported her during the apartheid was like, we's free now. The fight is over. You know, and so she didn't have, we's free. It's all good now. So why you go there, talk about what you did, and then come and enjoy this capitalist utopia that Mandela is building with IMF loans?
Jared is right. Like, I think.
Can I say one more thing?
Yeah, go ahead.
We have to talk about the solidarity between South Africa. We got to call out the traitors too, because there was a cultural and economic boycott of South Africa, and many artists, black artists, violated that boycott to go secure the bag, Brittney Griner style. So they went over there to secure the bag, and what? I said Brittney Griner style.
She went to go secure the bag of basketball. Well, see, man.
You're saying, wait a minute,
He's gonna make a comment now. He's gonna take us somewhere else. God damn it!
No, I'm trying to talk about.
Wait a minute. You're saying Brittney Griner is somehow a traitor for getting a?
I didn't say she was a traitor.
She went over there to secure the bag.
Over there to secure the bag
as a basketball player.
Of course, she put her individual interest over her movement.
What movement what picket line was she crossing to go play basketball?
Okay, I'll get back to that. Let me spit my hate on the South African times, and then we can get to Brittney.
She got a movement, though. I want to hear
Stephanie Mills had come out to talk about how white people are taking over R&B, and Auntie Stephanie Mills was reemerged just last year as an icon
in the Breakfast Club.
A black woman who's
wrong, bro.
And speaking up for black artists, right? During 1984, when black people were like, we're not no cultural, no economic support of apartheid, Stephanie Mills went over there and did the jig and got the bag, right? Just like Whitney Houston went to Israel. Yeah, but let me stay on topic.
Muhammad Ali went to get a bag too.
And when she came back to the U.S., she came to perform in the U.S. and black people were showing up at Stephanie Mills' concerts and shutting them down because she went to perform in South Africa. Oh, now back to Brittney Griner, how this is akin to what Brittney Griner did. First of all, people are crying about Brittney Griner because she had no choice but to go over there because she only makes $180,000, a paltry $160,000 a year from the WNBA. Who can live off that? So she had to go to Africa. I mean, she had to go to, I'm messing up my continent. She had to go to Russia, allow me to finish, to secure the bag, to get that money. Ain't shit funny. Ain't no way you could take this from me, right? But Africa, she is not only a BLM supporter, she was also a prominent member of and advocate for the LGBTQAI plus community. Russia is under sanctions for brutal repression of LGBTQAIs. Gay people and gender non-conforming people are being brutalized and lynched in Russian prisons and in the streets of Russia, and it is advocated from the Russian Orthodox Church and the Russian government advocate and support and sustain the repression and abuse of LGBTQ people. And the LGBT community across the globe have been calling that out. And Brittney Griner, as a member of that community, was like, yeah, that's good and all, but I can't live off a paltry 170 G's plus other endorsements a month. I got to go to Russia to get that bag. And so that type of shit, when it comes down on you, which is why I haven't spoken, this is my first time speaking on this issue, I don't respect that. And my real position is I think the NBA owners and the NBA players should get less money, the males. I don't think that the females, they make a decent middle class income. I'm for a maximum wage. I'm not for a minimum wage. So to say all that, it just don't smell. It falls down kind of different when she's a prominent, outspoken, member of a community, and then she goes to a country that is actively attacking. So that is the similarity from my perspective.
I just don't know what I'm gonna do to this offense.
I keep it up, man. I'm so impoverished in monetary. I have to be wealthy in my ideology. So I'm gonna keep it a buck. That's the only place I get.
What is we doing?
And if I'm wrong, please correct me. If Russia is not a haven for homophobia and vicious repression of gay people, if it's not, please let me know.
I mean, Emma said it's not under sanctions for that. So.
Oh, okay, yeah, because when the white man calls down sanctions, that's when it's real. Because black people or gay people or other repressed communities can't decide for themselves on a grassroots level.
I don't think that would be the point. The point would be
and the black boycott of South Africa and Azania was independent of official sanctions and came before official sanctions. Black people were challenging that, and just like the Montgomery boycott. Montgomery wasn't under official sanctions either. Like, what? We gotta wait for the.
So I would definitely need. I would need some help on this one. So Diallo is, and I'm asking beyond just Diallo. I'm asking the world. Is Diallo correct? Because I'm initially thinking my initial reaction is this is not correct. But is Diallo correct in equating the anti-apartheid struggle and the particular focus on that struggle at that time with the repression of the LGBTQ plus community in Russia?
Wait.
You literally are. That's literally your argument. Wait, Diallo, you don't cut. Wait. I'll let you say everything. But you literally your whole point was we shouldn't support Brittney any more than we should support
someone. Didn't say we shouldn't support Brittney. Didn't say that. You allow me. Allow me to give some.
I feel like I let you finish. I haven't even finished my sentence yet.
Right. Jared getting cut. He getting cut off all week, man. You got cut off at the.
I mean, you know what I'm saying? I go to their platform. I get cut off. I come to my platform. I get cut off. Can I just say? Because you literally said the whole point of bringing up Brittney was in the context of Azania,
of Stephanie Mills, in the context of Stephanie Mills.
And you literally equated a black artist crossing the picket line and going to South Africa with a black athlete crossing a picket line and going to. Okay. All right. Go ahead, man.
Yes, I do. Like I said, yeah, I do think that I do equate that if you claim to be down with that struggle and that movement, and then you go to a country to secure the bag, yeah, it's questionable to me. It should be asked if she has to go to Russia in the face of what the condemnations that it's facing. But yeah, I do. I'm not saying the black apartheid
and struggle. There's an organized LGBTQ struggle against Russia's treatment of that community in the same way there was an organized anti-apartheid struggle. I mean, I'm just not aware that the clarity on that issue and that focus on Russia, like, to me, I'm not aware. This is the first I've even ever heard somebody raise the issue that Brittney should be cut off for crossing a picket line.
She should be cut off. You're putting words in my mouth. That's
what it sounds like.
No, well, I'm sorry that
okay,
it sounds
go ahead.
that way.
Go ahead.
The facts remain to me The facts to me, I was talking about the idea of celebrities and adherence to the movements that the celebrities are supposed to. Because I wasn't even talking about Stephanie Mills until Stephanie Mills.
Right, but was there a movement response in the LGBTQ plus community against
No,
Russia in the same way that there was a movement response against apartheid in South Africa? That's what I'm not seeing, and I'm not aware of.
Wait, a movement response? What do you mean?
Because you just said Brittney had attached herself to a movement and was thereby disrespecting that movement by going to secure the bag. And I'm asking if there was a clearly defined movement in the same way against Russia's treatment.
Yes, there's a clearly defined gay rights movement here in the U.S. and there's one in the
not a gay rights movement, but a movement specifically targeting. Right? Come on, man, listen to what I'm saying.
Okay,
that's targeting Russia in the way an anti-apartheid movement was being targeted against.
No, there isn't.
Okay, so would she? So could it? Because I think it would have been. It was much more clear if a black artist. I mean, there was a whole hip hop dominant, at least major monster hit. Don't Play Sun City. There was a whole Pan-African within rap and outside of rap world black condemnation of apartheid. Yeah. There was a whole lot going on at the time that made it clear if you go and perform there, that's messed up. In the same way that I would say now, like for instance, if you had said Brittney had attached herself to the LGBTQ or some other broader political movement and then gone to perform in Israel, I think that would have been a more clear line step even. But what I'm saying is I'm just not aware that at this point there was this LGBTQ plus or supporting community movement saying Russia is to be condemned for its treatment of these people in the same way South Africa at that time was being targeted for its treatment of African people. So I just didn't seem like I'm just not aware that she had crossed the line in that same way.
There is an international boycott and human rights bodies have called for a boycott as far back as 2012 in Russia, of Russia, because of not just the cultural but Russia actually has passed anti-gay legislation where gay media cannot be played on Russian media. It's banned by the state. Russia has official laws against quote unquote gay propaganda. And there's Human Rights Watch and other globalequality.org and many other official bodies now have come. I know that there has been a long struggle with that in Russia. And I even I came to understand, because I don't follow sports, I actually came to recognize Brittney Griner based on her out LGBTQ identity and her presence in that community going back, because she was prominent before gay marriage and the other legislation here in the US where she was prominent in advocating for that. So I do not equate the gay rights movement or the gay rights struggle to the black struggle, but I do.
That's not what I wasn't asking for that comparison, by the way.
Okay,
that
great.
My point.
Great.
I hear your point.
Yes,
that wasn't what I was saying.
Official international boycott. There are official international condemnations of Russia on that topic, and you can just put in Russia sanctions, Russia boycott, or search Russia anti-gay law, and you can become brought up to speed on that struggle. It's not as prominent here. It's not as promoted as well because international issues just don't lead in the U.S. media. But yeah, it's there.
Okay. All right.
And I just have to say, real talk, if I was a member of that community, I wouldn't be in Russia performing. If I was a member of that community or any community, I could even see if she was going there for activism and to advocate and speak out, or like when they were wearing the Black Lives Matter shirts here, or just doing some type of protest. But So then, okay. Fair enough.
I mean, I think that also kind of puts us into the conversation that I thought that we would have as well, in terms of arts and entertainment, and how there's this thought that it should be or could be just an expression or some kind of fun or entertainment or whatever, but it's not. It has no kind of political consequences. And so once these people, well, one, the artists and the celebrities are normally class enemies. So like Diallo is saying, Brittney gonna go get a bag despite what. I mean, I'm not sure that she would have, if she was more up to speed to what was going on, she would have not gone over there. I'm not sure. We've seen countless of athletes and entertainers side with the bag and the narrative that gets them the bag.
And we can't. I'm sorry.
No, I'm just saying, like, but I think that brings us to the point where, like, politicizing artists and entertainers and all these other people is, I mean, I don't know if it's even a goal or a task if they could even be politicized. Again, you could talk about Paul Robeson and whoever else, but majority of those people, when it comes to getting some kind of power, shit ain't gonna go that way. Same thing with the movie. Like, there's the dude come up. He was in he was one of the kids shot at. He was tortured for a period of time, and then once he got a chance, he said they made a deal with me. Once he got a chance to be, top cop, he's like, y'all soft. I need to be with the police. I'm gonna get the money.
Well, on the topic of politicized art, there's no such thing as non-political art. All art is political. And the art that we perceive as being apolitical or non-political, aka pop culture or pop art, is the most political. And the reason it's not seen as political is because it is so well embedded with the status quo and with power. So the apolitical stuff is the stuff that is most deeply entrenching us into our indoctrination. So if you see something like, oh, this is just for fun, this is for nothing. But also, we can't deny the power that celebrities have and athletes and entertainers have. I remember I owned a vegan restaurant, and one day I went to my wife, and I'm like, we're completely out of inventory. We ordered the same thing we always order, and we're running out of inventory. We can't keep up with the demand. And like 2 days later, I had found out that Beyonce had posted online that she was doing vegan Mondays or meat-free Mondays or some shit like that. And it caused and I was in the Midwest, the Hereford cow and the capital of barbecue. I was in the Midwest with an all vegan restaurant, and we were selling out on a daily basis because of a Beyonce tweet. When I've been advocating for veganism for 20 years at that point and hadn't had the impact of one Beyonce tweet. So we can't deny these people's impact. So when they acknowledge something, they have a great influence, but also when they ignore, neglect, or pretend to be indifferent to an issue, it also has an neglect. Now, we can bemoan the influence that they have, which I do. I do it nonstop, but we can't deny it, and we have to navigate and confront it. Whether it's to confront it, to direct them to use it better, or confront them to deny them or to take away that power.
So first, I just need to say that I'm gonna have to keep reflecting about this Brittney Griner argument you're making. Something doesn't sit well with me. And I don't know. I'm gonna have to investigate what that is. I don't know if it's actually that you're wrong or that something else is just bothering me about you being right. I don't know. But I'd have to think more about it. And looking at some of the comments in the chat, which again, I think.
Here's my position.
Hold on a second, Diallo. Hold on a second. Hold on a second. We heard what your position is. My thing is, there's some nuance in here that's missing, again, as usual, which is always my concern. But I just need to think more about it, because I think you come in here, you drop these headline grabbing comments, and sometimes I just need to, I got to slowly catch up. But all I can say is right now, I'm not. Go ahead, man.
I mean, if the story is not popular, like you said, and it's not being known, then you can't expect, again, celebrities, people who are not have no class analysis or consciousness to even know as well. So she wouldn't even know that she is.
Yeah, they know. They know. They have whole teams of handlers and people. What you call it? Expose this. Dr. Claude Anderson, before he lost his mind, he exposed the fact that when he went to celebrities to fund his Powernomics thing, and he was able to sit down and sit across from many prominent Negroes, and they're not as prominent now, but this is, and more a couple of decades ago. When he sat across from them, they were very clear on the issues they were allowed to advocate for, the issues they were allowed to speak against, and the issues they had to not touch with a 10-foot pole. They were very clear on that.
First of all, we don't know who he spoke to or what he thinks that they were. We're not clear on. But
he said who he spoke to. He gave the corporations that he asked for money. He gave the individuals that he asked for money. Yeah, he named names, but that's not. But my point.
My point is, I don't know. Having not dealt with his work carefully in a long time, I don't remember the specifics of that conversation. My point, though, is even if he named the names, especially looking back now, I'm not convinced he is clear enough and capable of assessing even those he's saying were themselves incapable of assessing the situation. So
he said,
I don't even know.
Him. We'll have to talk to him about that. But he said that the athletes,
invite him on here. I would love it if he would show up here.
And entertainers told him that's too black. That what you're trying to do is too black, and I can't support you if you make it a black and brown or black and Latino. I'm not.
But to extrapolate from that and to say that Brittney Griner has a team that properly prepares her to fully understand the context in which she's working is a long leap.
We're not talking about Brittney at this point. I'm speaking.
But you said she know and she has a team though.
You keep bringing stuff up in relationship to something and then say it has nothing to do with it. You brought her up to make the point. You brought this point up to make the point. She does know what she's talking about.
And I'm speaking to the broader notion that these prominent these leading blacks are acting out of ignorance. And if they knew better, they would do better. And I'm asserting that these people who have people who lay out their clothing, who lay out their meals, who lay out their schedules, also have on their staff people who tell them of the causes that are going on, tell them of the causes that they are allowed to advocate and embrace, the causes that they must shun, and causes that they must I don't think they're as simple as the rest of us. I think if we, with our limited resources and a limited support network, can have some type of surface understanding of the issues of the world, celebrities that care to know. And that's why you'll find even the most outlandish celebrities, the most absurdist, outlandish, raw, keep it real celebrities, there are certain topics that they don't touch, certain issues that they go nowhere near, while they speaking as reckless as they want to about slavery being a choice. They're speaking as reckless as they want to about black people and the condition of black people. There's certain places, and I know y'all thinking right now, the places no black celebrity will ever touch on, the issues and topics, but not even out of ignorance. And even if they were speaking out of ignorance, you would think they would somehow cross the line just because they're too stupid to recognize the line. They know the line.
We definitely see this very differently, because I could make the using the same frame you just developed. It could be easily argued, and I think more likely the case, that celebrities are carefully kept away from understanding the world outside of the way they're supposed to know it to perform their duty as celebrity. So to make that so that they would be even less likely than the rest of us to have a working handle on what's going on. Their world is, to the extent that their world, Diallo, my man, you can't keep cutting me off. I just let you go on and on and on. My point is that to the extent that their lives are as manicured as you say, it could then be, again, more easily concluded that would lead them away from understanding the world and be more easily manipulated into say, hey, don't worry about what your community is saying is happening in Russia. Go over there because that's where the biggest bag is. As opposed to in your version where her team is providing her with the latest data and reports and studies on what's happening with Russia in her community and the movement in her community and saying, hey, here's the latest statement from this organization saying you shouldn't do that. They're not doing that. Her PR team, her marketing team, who feed off of her making more money, are going to, of course, tell her to go get the bag and find ways to cajole her and to set up a world for her to go get that bag. They're not going to help her to be a more appropriately functioning political thinker. So that's why again, I don't think it's fair to put any real. That's why I think I'm uncomfortable with the whole she crossed a picket line thing when I'm not so sure to what extent that picket line was clarified for her or known to her, or to whatever extent her team exists, because they seem to have disappeared after she got arrested, would have prepared her more appropriately for that. But again, I want to ask,
what is we doing?
Okay.
No, real quick. So I wonder, because again, Jared, we talked about intentions and then impact, right? So when you going on these panels, you're talking to these people, is there somebody, like for instance Keezy, is there somebody who know your book and know your argument and understand it but telling them differently, or somebody who doesn't know what the hell you actually saying and they kind of warning her like, yo, he gonna be problematic, but they can't really articulate why you're gonna be problematic or what your thrust is?
All I can say is, and I am unaware. I think I get your point. I am unaware of nobody that I'm unaware of any situation where somebody has said, I understand, I've read Jared's work, I understand what he's saying, and here's why I disagree. I have not seen it yet. In fact, that's why I was telling our dear brother in Baltimore a couple months ago, when he was trying to set up a debate between me and one of these other YouTube dudes. And he was like, oh, by the way, can you tell the dude where he can get a copy of your book? So I'm sitting there saying, so not only has it been free for a couple of years now, but you want to debate me about my book and you haven't even read it yet. And I was like, nah, I'm not doing that. Like,
and if it's the brother I know, I already sent him the book. If it's the one I know, I already sent him the book. So
but my point is so that's all I'm saying. So no, that's why, again, no one that I'm aware of who has read the book has publicly criticized it. So I don't know. The people who criticize me have in many cases willfully said that they haven't read the book or demonstrated that in their argument. So I don't know to what extent. Anyway, so
it sounds like y'all are arguing about the ignorance of the handler or the publisher or the person who's giving them information, whether it's willful ignorance or it's just they don't know. Like, for instance, the person who told Viola Davis to read this about the homie, like, did he intently want to subvert and change the message, or his ass just believe this is the history and this is what I need to tell her to read?
It's the woke imperium. This is her Oscar. This is her Academy. And what I would say, just to bring it back real quick, I would love to see somebody make a political comparison between this series and The Woman King. Because for whatever this series, again, without trying to spoil it, whatever I think it does wrong, and again, the Vernon philosophy is still in effect, politically, it is way more of value. I mean, worlds more valuable than The Woman King. I mean, I mean, worlds more. It's unfortunate that there's less of an excitement and conversation about this. And aside from that one white woman journalist, I mean, and the white boy who's on trial here, it's as beautiful a Black African cast with women dominant, as you could get. So I'm like, if that's what we're looking for, and that's why I keep saying, that's why I told whoever would listen to me, don't do these movies. Like I told a comrade a couple weeks ago about the Young Lords, don't don't let Ryan Coogler do a Young Lords movie, do a Netflix series if you have to go the commercial route, so you can draw it out a little bit and get something in there. But if Ryan Coogler is going to do the Young Lords, it's going to be, again, what can I say? What can I say? It's going to be
same as the Baltimore-based Spook. The Spook's supposed to be was filmed in Baltimore
with Lee Daniels running that. That is so. Maybe this could even serve as a little bit of a segue or of a what do they call it? Foreshadowing. But I did, this issue of what's up, Diallo? What's up?
No. Let's move on, because
no, go ahead, man. I'm not pushing. Go ahead. I just wanted you to let me finish saying what I had to say. If you got more, go ahead.
First of all, I'm a class antagonist. So any Black person that is above the masses in class and status within the systems and institutions of white domination, to me, I think that we should view with an extremely critical eye. And we all know the old saying, to whom much is given, much is expected. It seems like when it comes to these goddamn celebrities, we lose our minds, we lose our common sense. And just to listen to people argue, well, they don't know no better. These precious babies, who travel the world.
I don't think that's my argument.
They don't know no better.
Totally disrespects my argument, Diallo. That's not what I'm saying.
That's
not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that they're weaponized against us in a much more careful, meticulous way than you're recognizing. So it's not that I'm saying we should protect these precious babies. I'm saying we should recognize what makes a celebrity and what allows celebrity to be sustained.
Okay, but here's the bottom line. I don't pay much attention to them, but when a celebrity generally pops up on my radar from a perspective of critiquing them, it's because the Black community is rallying around them.
But wait a minute, Diallo. Let's be clear about what happened here on this show this morning. We came here to talk about this. You brought up Brittney Griner. Nobody you brought the celebrity into this madness. Nobody was talking about no celebrity this morning. But you.
And I definitely wouldn't be one to say I'm protecting her or whatever. And when I say in terms of not knowing, the level of, like, I don't believe that there are many celebrities, if any, that knows the depth of something and willfully going against it. Like, I believe they really believe some of the shit that they are doing. Now, again, I'm not on the same side with Jared in terms of like intentions. Like, I'm not good at saying that they had the best intentions, because again, I got the idea of, like, if your car is pulled over and something's happened and somebody comes smash the window, it's like, oh, I had the best intentions. I'm like, yeah, so I struggle with this intentions and impact thing.
My point is, as a people under genocidal oppression, there's certain liberties we can't afford. But what I was saying is, when someone pops up on my radar, it's not because of who they are as an individual, but because of the ideas that they allow to, or they can provoke in the movements and the emotions they can provoke amongst the masses. And so I was indifferent to Brittney Griner until I saw the Black community and the many takes, from music videos to hashtags to all of the Black community pouring out this support. And I know goddamn well, if I had some hemp oil or whatever she had in my bag when I went into Frankfurt, or when I was in the Naples check and I had that shit in my bag, I would not get the level of response and support and outcry. Or if
Diallo, if you're talking to them, if you're on here talking to them,
point.
But Diallo, if you're on here talking to them, that makes sense. But if you're on here talking to me and you can't distinguish my argument around celebrity and what is being said out here in the atmosphere, then that's why I'm saying you're not paying attention and you struggle with nuance. That's my point. And that would go for you and anybody else in the chat, because you seem to be here talking about Brittney to that audience that has drawn your attention to her. I haven't mentioned her. and I have a very particular point about argument around celebrity that seems to be more in line with what you claim you are in terms of being a class antagonist. Because what I'm saying is, if we're really class antagonists, why aren't we looking at the faux class position Brittney was said to have, and how class actually has worked against her, and those of true class power have worked against her?
Okay.
But again, you brought her up this morning because I thought we was talking about this.
I acknowledge that I brought her up. If we look at the evolution, we're on tape, so we can go back. We were talking about South Africa and the black diaspora, or Black Americans' solidarity and symbiosis with Azania. And I said we should also not just pay attention to the solidarity, but also pay attention to the treason. Because if you ignore history, you're doomed to repeat it. Then I made a side comment to bring it up so that people that are understanding what happened way back in the early 90s and bring it up to with a comparative situation that we have in the present, contemporary. So I brought her up. But y'all the ones who wanted to go down that rabbit hole.
No, I would. That's not what happened. But all right, okay. Well, then if I'm the fault for going down the rabbit hole, then let's end it right here. The rabbit hole's done. No. Because you said it was my fault. You said it was my fault. So the rabbit hole's done. Watch this. No. The rabbit hole is done.
I mix what I like.
All right. So I've taken us out of that rabbit hole. All right. Okay. So there were a couple other things, speaking of class, that I did want us to get to this morning. And then if you all want to stick around and we have time, or if we have interest at this point, we can get to some of the because there's a lot of interesting comments and some praise for all three of us actually in those comments. But first, you know what? I think we should have some fun with a few minutes of I have said that I wanted to be to Black politics what this brother is to Black comedy, but I don't know if I could do that anymore. I just want us to take a couple of minutes with Pierre's panic room here.
I tried to watch it. It didn't work out for me.
We're better as far as
it's a difficult watch.
Yeah, I love you hearing that and stuff. Waking up. Let me ask you. How's this word? The N word.
Oh, wait a minute. My fault. When did they get to the? I didn't want to deal with this part. I don't want to do this part.
Man,
I don't want to hear
that dude just said, "I love the fact that they call us kings and queens." He said, "Yeah, we waking up."
Yeah, but when does he get to the Scientology piece?
I think it was like towards the end, but I tried to watch the full clip and it just I gave up last night.
I couldn't do it.
Not mine. First page of the book, Dynamics. Mind you, I'm not pushing no Scientology.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah, there you go.
You know, he said, no. This came from 50,000 years of thinking men, upon which Scientology and Dianetics, the hell that is. And when I started researching, I said, oh, I'm reading these books. I'm like, oh, that's us. That's ours. This white man could not have known this before us. Right. And and he even said in a lot of his books that I read that he learned from Black folks. He got it from natives. When he traveled to Africa, he got it from us. So my deal is, so you did not take it and say, I made it. I got it from y'all. I said, okay, I can respect the fact that this white man wasn't a Columbus and said he discovered this. No. He said, no. This came from 50,000 years of thinking men, upon which Scientology and Dianetics could not be possible. The credit is theirs, not mine. First page of the book, Dianetics. Mind you, I'm not pushing no Scientology. Sure. Y'all want to go study whatever, you study whatever. But when you give me a question like this, I have to know. That's why you said I know why you're on that list. I cannot be limited in my knowledge. I will not be limited in my knowledge just because your lack of maturity makes you feel, nigga, why you over there doing that? Well, because you can't do it? You gonna stop me? In order for you to understand your enemy, you must know your enemy if you want to go here. This is military understanding now. So if you see these white folks in your community, what the hell are they doing? Why are they here? No, I mean, like, you need to ask yourself the question. What are they doing? No. Now, with me, I looked at, okay, if I'm going to attack you, I better know what the hell I'm attacking first. I'm not going to be emotional about this. I need to be militant and military strategic. Let me figure out what's going on here. Right. So I started studying that. I said, I know that's us. That's us. That's our history. That's our information. I said, oh, okay. And I was telling them, oh, this is where you got that from. Egypt, you got that from there. You got that from South Africa. You got that from Asia. You got that from there. And they're like, yeah, that's what our number said. I said, yeah, that's yeah. So I started laughing like, this is our stuff. Sorry to tell you. Just like all the rest of this history that y'all made it seem as though it's yours and you discovered things. That's our stuff. Right.
So the original question was why, what about your engagement with Scientology? And over the last few years, it's been reported on a number of occasions that leading ministers in the Nation of Islam have been invited to spend time with the Christian Scientologists. And the one part that he left out, and I will give credit because I initially saw this here and then went actually and followed up from there to try to confirm. The good historians at South Park, when they broke down the history of Scientology, it is hilarious and unfortunately quite actually factual. That the part that Rizza leaves out, that in terms of L. Ron Hubbard's development of Scientology, is his science fiction writing background and the other thing that's left out of that conversation that I thought about, two quick points. One is that the nation has some overlapping similar ideological beliefs in terms of beings from outer space, aliens and whatnot, right? The other thing that occurred to me just watching that, and because I was watching it in line with watching the other stuff around the nominal white left, is that it seems to me that this is the black nationalist version of going after the right wing, the rightward conservative wing bag. That, in other words, like there's never this, let me go investigate the white folks to my political left. In other words, if this claim that he was studying the enemy, well, why then aren't you showing up with the white communists and the socialists then, and learning, study them? Because there's no money in that. There's no money in that. But anyway, those were just my two. Go ahead.
Yeah, right. I'd say 4 words. If you want to know why the Nation of Islam is playing footsies with the Church of Scientology, is where the money reside, where the money. I know that's an outdated meme, but it's relevant. They go where the money is. It's like I was telling y'all in the text yesterday. Go and look up the Unification Church in the Nation of Islam. Go look up Reverend Sun Young Moon, a billionaire. Go look up the Moonies. They're called the Moonies. It's a derogatory term, but another cult, the Unification Church. And if you go look up the Million Family March, where Farrakhan did mass weddings, he literally, what Farrakhan does is Farrakhan's like, I have status and a following. And he will bring his flock to your circle for a price. That's all it is. He's like a herdsman bringing his cattle to graze on various lawns for a price. So I could have Farrakhan adopt veganism. If I was a billionaire, Farrakhan would wake up and be like, I had a vision, and have everybody eating vegan and doing what I say, being vegan socialist. Wherever the money resides, and Scientology is worth over almost $2 billion. They have over 400 million in property holdings in Hollywood alone. It's where the money resides. It don't matter what the ideology is. He got a flock for sale, and he will take his flock wherever the money resides. If you pay him, he'll put his flock onto whatever you about. Ain't even that deep.
Oh, what Kwame Torres said about the way he play his violin, how he speak.
Right.
You remember?
You look up, and Nation of Islam, they provide the Fruit of Islam, providing security for Michael Jackson, and they'll provide security. I could be sitting here talking with Fruit of Islam security over my shoulder if I got the money. It's where the money resides. That's all it is. That's all most cults boil down to.
He a bad man with that violin.
And cults, right? Yeah, I think
there is. Did you see the barbershop? What was it, the barbershop channel? there's a barbershop channel that played the apparently has the audio of Farrakhan talking to Rizza Islam and chastising him because women were coming forth with all kinds of accusations, including of the R word. So I don't know if you've heard that. I don't know how accurate that is, but it was I admit it was a scandalous listen. And but anyway,
all I know is about his exploiting vulnerable children, him and his mom with the little nonprofit thing. That's all I know about.
Well, I did see a couple years ago when JT the Pocket Watcher did a whole thing on that, and it was once you get over of course the fact that the claim was that they were ripping off all these poor black people. It was, I mean, it was still, but there is humor. It was kind of funny. Again, unfortunately, the problem, and I can't even watch JT much anymore, is that so much of that channel is yes, it's making fun of people who are ripping off black people, but it's also making fun of black people for just being poor. So I can't rock too hard with that channel, but JT, the Pocket Watching with JT is what I'm talking about. He's in
Yo said he said JT Money. Who that
trying to get up in my crew?
Yeah, he was
oh, that's what that was. My bad. I missed the joke. My bad. Thank you for catching that. Okay, my bad. I missed the whole joke.
Professor Griff White.
Oh, you was in the clubs right alongside me in the 90s.
Right.
Don't front. I don't know nothing about no clubs, Diallo.
We were young. Okay. We were young before.
Boy, oh boy. Boy, oh boy.
Salt and peppered beard men you see before you.
No, look, so COVID, the one thing that COVID messed up more than anything, for me at least, was that Wednesday I was supposed to go out to see Vibe Band. I was kind of planning to go see Vibe Band play. But even as I was sitting there saying, well, I can't go now, I was partially thinking, well, that's good, because, you know, as it started getting later in the evening, you start thinking about this is the time when you start getting yourself ready. And all I kept thinking about was I want to put on pajamas more than I want to put on an outfit. You know what I mean? Like I'm ready for bed. Right. This is where people start ready to just starting the night to get ready to go out. And I was like, damn.
Yeah.
And shout out to the bands because they're still doing it. I mean, these are grown folks who got to work and they go out there and I know they love it, whatever. But anyway, I'm like, damn, I don't know if I... Yeah. Jared, get your drums. we gotta go. Be like, I don't know, man. Can we get some afternoon gigs? Can we get some brunch gigs? People don't want to go at brunch. All right. Anyway, okay. There was a couple things here. So I saw this thing that I mentioned that show Adam Ruins Everything. So he did this thing. He mentioned, by the way, I just made a note of this, that okay, he was talking about how credit card theft is rampant and that the credit card companies know that because their technology was initially developed at a time, you know, when security was never thought of, that they've not, instead of catching up to secure credit cards, their solution is, since everybody's credit card is basically already out there, and it's just a matter of, he was calling it the negative lottery, whether the thieves just grab your number and start using it. It's just a matter of you know, luck or bad luck. But he said the show made the point that because credit card companies know this, instead of going after the thieves or going after increased protection, they just built in a system where they pay you back. If your card if you report something stolen or a bad charge, they just give you your money back. And because they figured it's obviously they make way more money just doing that than they would trying to stop it. So they're like, we just leave it at that. And the reason I wrote that down was because I'm thinking in terms of the myth of buying power, this is sort of what I'm trying to get us to think about. Like, I want us in this regard, jokingly, of course, to think ourselves as a credit card cartel and say, we don't have the bandwidth or the energy or the interest even to go chasing after everybody's expenditure. You save your money. Diallo, you spend over there. Geechee, save and you spend over there. Jared, you save and spend over there. We don't have, this is not the solution. Just needs to be a political movement where we say it don't matter. Whenever there is an error that needs to be corrected in the economy, it gets corrected. You get something, you end up poorer than somebody else, just as a cost of doing business, of creating this $20+ trillion annual GDP. We're just going to fill in the gaps. Again, it's not revolution. It's not the ultimate solution. It's just a level of consciousness I would like to see us get to politically, where we're saying, I'm not going to argue with everybody over who gets which crumb. It's that we're all going to eat off of this collective factory that we've put together that produces all this wealth, regardless of where we end up in the economy. And so anyway, that was just something I thought of real quick in response to that. Like,
so are you going to invest in the 529 plan or no? Like that's kind of what I want to know.
I can't even pretend to really say that I've investigated or looked into it, but no, I'm not. And I see that you sent me this clip here from old girl here. Let me pull this up and we can run it. But no, I'm not. And this is sort of the point I want to get at. The way things are set up now only benefits all of these hustlers who are trying to run around and get the crumb, get their piece of the crumb that falls off the table of this ignoble system. Here we go. So let me just see who is this now?
Secret that they're not telling you about the way the wealthy supercharge tax-free savings for college. They are using what's called accelerated giftings. A person to contribute 5 years of gift tax exclusions in 1 year. So in 2022, the gift tax exclusion is $16,000. So multiply that by 5. One person can contribute $80,000 per 529 plan. And if they're married, multiply that by 2.
Citizens of Kherson support Ja.
Was nice.
So ironically, I got the link that she's reading off. So you see her she's reading and while she's saying it, and it's like trying to comprehend at the same time. But like the next few lines is talk about how much money you can lose. It's an investment, the different taxes, the laws change. Just leave all that out.
This is sort of what I'm saying. Instead of the whole industry of financial literacy is just that. It's a cottage industry that allows hustlers to get in here and rip people off. The sister that was arguing with me at the blockchain summit, her whole business model is charging people to learn from her how to become entrepreneurs. So you have to be teaching people that you have the investment strategy, you have the business development strategy that will save them. And this is all, and all I'm saying is obviously all this does is lead to a bunch of confusion and inactivity and zero progress. If the goal is, right, is so let's just go after that GDP. Anyway, go ahead.
Could you pull that link back up?
From the video?
No, I was saying, could you pull that link back up? Because like that's the sister who was saying that she's teaching Black people how to be millionaires and make millionaires move. But at the top of that page, she says, I think it's at the top, very top. It's like the backdrop. But on the backdrop,
this is the top of the page of the link.
Click the Zide Legacy. Click it right quick. That link right, yeah, click it. And at the top, the picture at the top in the background, Warren Buffett and Munger are wrong about Bitcoin. So she says she's going to teach you a millionaire mindset and teach you what millionaires do. But a damn billionaire is literally telling you Bitcoin is not a good idea. But you want to listen to her, who's I mean, I don't know how much money she
right.
got. I don't know how much money she got.
She doesn't have Warren Buffett money. I know that.
I don't know.
Is that
and Kanye, my bad, Diallo, but Kanye said it best. I'm not learning from somebody who's broker than me.
Don't listen to Warren Buffett. Listen to me. Go ahead, Diallo.
What's funny is the NFT crash has all these people calling for regulators and overseers and calling for government relief. And so Bitcoin will become viable the moment it becomes a regulated, standardized, overseen currency. And many of the people, I think it was actually Elon Musk, who with his ongoing manipulation of the crypto market has people calling for regulation. They're literally going to state and federal and even some international agencies to ask that Bitcoin be to remove the anonymity behind crypto for more transparency and more regulations. They want crypto to become money. So that's the only way. So, it's ironic. And they don't even see the irony because they go and ask for these reliefs and these supports from the state. And then they still come to the public and talk about the best thing about crypto is the anonymity and deregulation.
So you mean to tell me Jared's cousin with the best intentions is not really going to buy a military with Bitcoin? Because he got his brothers over there saying they about to buy a military with Bitcoin. So,
yeah, I know a guy who's financing his life off of instructing people. And, my thing, because you don't remember that before crypto became big, it was gold and silver.
Yeah.
Remember hard currency? We need to return to the gold standard. And these same people out here that were hustling gold and silver are the exact same people. And at that same time, they were hustling gold and silver. They were talking about the cashless society, and the New World Order wanted to take our money away and take away gold and silver and give us this mark of the beast, this digital currency. These people have no shame. But I was always thinking to myself, I'm not a very smart man. And I was always thinking to myself, the moment y'all stop taking my cash money for y'all fucking alternatives to cash money, that's when I'll believe it's really a shift coming, or that's really. But if you're taking,
that was the funniest thing when I was debating the gentleman of crypto. I looked up their whole setup, and their courses on crypto cannot be joined using crypto. You gotta buy in with cash,
right?
USD.
I ain't accepting crypto.
Hey, I'm not about to participate in this criticizing influencers and educators instead of imparting knowledge and information to raise the consciousness of the audience. I'm not participating.
That's what Kezia said, and that was her argument from the stage. She interrupted me to say that I was a useless disinformation academic. But anyway, anyway, that was one thing. Let me pull up one other thing here because there was some news from our sisters and brothers in the Latino community as it regards buying power. And the same nonsense is happening. I don't see Latinos using it or having it targeted to them and them using it politically in the way Black people have. But the same argument is being made. And I love this headline. Despite pandemic, Latinos' economic power is growing. So the headline from Axios is that economic power of Latinos is growing. But as you read through it, they do the same thing that and again, this is why I understood why Kezia was being so defensive and hostile to me on the stage and believing what she was saying, because the mythology is just so heavily promoted and ubiquitous. But because she said the same thing about the GDP comparison. So it says the same thing here. It also says the total economic output of US Latinos reached 2.8 trillion in 2020, comparable to the GDPs of the UK and India. And again, this suggests that the economic condition and relationship to the global economy is the same between the United Kingdom and India, and therefore would be the same by this U.S. Latino community. So it treats Latinos as a sovereign nation operating within the global economy as a sovereign entity, when even India doesn't operate in that same way. And really, even in reverse, the UK doesn't either. This idea that any of these economies are independent of anyone else's is mythology. It just allows for the masking of the colonial relationship that ultimately exists beneath it all. So, but then it goes on to say here, pay in low wage positions like hospitality and service jobs in which Latinos are overrepresented also grew over the last couple of years as business struggled to find workers. So this is how they're arguing Latinos' economic power, misdefined as buying power, is increasing, because the low wage jobs that are populated by Latinos are growing in number as businesses struggle to find low wage workers. So it's the same thing that they used to do with the Black buying power reports before they became a little more sophisticated. They argue that Black people's economic strength is increasing because of some sort of absurd data point that suggests something that it doesn't suggest. So this idea that an increase in low wage positions is somehow going to mean economic power for the people taking those low wage positions is absurd. In the same way, for instance, they one time argued that Black people's buying power was going up because the amount of Black people over the age of 65, at which point most people's buying power decreases, also is a smaller number in relationship to whites, meaning that the amount of people who are old in the Black community and therefore don't spend a lot is smaller than the amount of old non-spenders in the white community. And of course, leaving out the fact that one of the reasons is because Black people die earlier and are, of course, broker than white folks. But somehow that's supposed to mean economic strength.
Can I point out another lie?
Sure, go ahead.
There's no monolithic, ominous Latino or Hispanic group.
Of course.
You're grouping Honduran refugees who work in Midwestern slaughterhouses with anti-Castro Cubans in South Florida. These are two alien groups that have no overlaps, no interactions. They don't pool their money. They don't buy the same shit. They don't have the same aspirations. You know, they just speak the same language. You know,
well, Diallo, one thing, but they do overlap in one key area that this report does get right. They do, all of those various Latino groups do overlap in their prevalence in low wage positions.
Well, not the anti-Castro Cubans. They came with the bag, you know, and they're white.
Well,
the anti-Castro Cubans are chilling at Mar-a-Lago playing golf. You know.
So,
but yeah, I feel they do right. Yeah, but
they started red table talks too. They got the
right. But these are separate and often hostile and antagonistic ethnic or ethno-national populations. So just the moment you start off trying to talk about Latino as a monolithic group, you're already playing games. That
no, absolutely.
This information, any conclusions you draw about Latinos is gonna, you know.
I thought there was another line in this one. Maybe I was looking at something else, but but even here it says, even as Latinos have been marginalized in some boardrooms overall, U.S. Latino buying power and economic output grew during the pandemic. This is actually a more honest line. And I thought that there was another report I was looking at. I thought it was this one, but it said that it did the same thing that was said of Black people earlier this year. Black wealth is decreasing, but buying power is increasing, and this is still somehow being called economic power. But what this line always exposes when they have them in these kinds of stories is that what they mean by economic power or buying power or economic strength is really the output to the economy that they represent. And by output, they mean the money they transfer over to those who own the economy, which are whites, which is why the reason they're saying in this case that Latinos are doing better is because they're getting more opportunities in the low wage positions that are available to them. So, but again, it's not an economic strength or power that despite what Kezi and others are saying, could be marshaled and used more wisely and invested differently and so on and so forth to create an economic strength that we currently don't have.
And they also appear to ignore the fact that what makes Latinos such attractive employees and workers is their lack of access to recourse because of their vulnerable status and their citizenship or lack thereof status. It is easier to exploit them as workers, which is why a lot of low wage employers prefer them over other, marginalized groups like Black people.
Right on.
I mean, and these people,
that's a positive spin. You got to focus on the, positive energy.
Go ahead, Geechee.
No, I was just about to say, like, these people, especially, again, I've been around Kezi and her other friend Angel Rich, who Chase Bank has said she's gonna, solve poverty by her financial literacy app. And these women are very interesting, but it's more interesting that they think that you can't just Google their names. And we in DMV area, so a lot of political things are happening, and your name get attached to stuff. So you could just Google her name and see that she has angel investors or her foundations and her political ties, and so it's like, very easily discovered where the hell they coming from and why.
Of course. Real quick, because of our back and forth, I did forget this. There was something from a review of Justice Serve I just wanted to share real quick about that, about what I thought, without spoiling anything, gives a little bit about what I thought they did well, and then we can go into this.
We need to have a BPM watch party, man. A BPM watch party. Tell the chat. Let's cook it up.
Let's do it. What this review says here is, and it's not the Kelly Ripa show. It is Justice Serve review: A Broken System is Put on Trial, and another entertaining Netflix by Vivian Neka Wanjiaku. And but I just want to read this one little part here. But it's never really about whether Harvey lives or dies. That's the white antagonist. It's just a man who is on trial here. South Africa's Supreme Court abolished the death penalty in 1995. So even if Harvey is found guilty by an actual court, the maximum punishment would be a life sentence. But if the voting public finds him guilty, they would be voting for a death sentence with no room for appeal. They would also be voting to kill the system. What Justice Served really does is put the entire system on trial, and then also put on trial all sides of the system, from those who want it to stay broken to those who want to fix it. It starts off with race relations, but as the layers are peeled, it becomes clear that the series is really about everything that is broken about the system. As Makomo put it, the system hasn't changed, it just has a new management. The gatekeepers just have a new skin tone. Justice Served raises tough questions about how much change has actually come to South Africa since the end of apartheid, about the lines between justice and morality, about the intersections between freedom fighting and terrorism. And it does this through character backstories and motivations, arguments, and dialogue that is substantially on the nose, although the latter seems inevitable since the series is literally a trial. So anyway, I just wanted to read that one quick passage because I think that says well what happens in the series, and then people can determine to on their own to what extent they think the series does that well.
Right.
anyway.
Also, one of the nuances I didn't get to ask, but when I think about the scene when the father came to the jail and it was like, the system ain't gonna change, like just give up your leader, and then obviously when the lady with her daughter, again, I don't want to spoil it either, but I'm curious sometimes how we think, if we're put in these situations, how are we going to show up, right?
Oh, so I already. Yeah, my bad. Go ahead. Yeah,
no, but I mean,
that scene wore me out.
No, that's what I wanted to kind of like spark between either both of y'all. Like, if you teaching your children in this kind of space, and if they become radicalized, even more radicalized, and do some things, and the state get them, again, keeping in mind how we talk about like political prisoners. Keep in mind how we talk about, even Kevin Johnson on the death row in Missouri. Like, what do they need to say so that the state release them? And how much would we be complicit with what they need to do and say to get them released? You know
but
what I
see,
mean?
this is why I loved what Jihad was saying when he was here. That this is that when prisoners do that, it's a sign of the weakness of our movement. Because as I interpret that, and as I watched that scene you're talking about, it reminded me of the same thing. We cannot have a situation where individuals are making these decisions. These have to be movement decisions, because otherwise the individuals always, because I already know if I showed up, I'd have done the same thing that the father did. There's no way, I already know there's no way I'm gonna look at my daughter behind a cell, beaten and tortured, and tell her to stay strong and keep going. Even if that's the right thing politically to do. There's no way I'm doing it. I'm gonna tell her, say what you got to say. We're all sellouts. I'm a sellout. We're all sellouts. Whatever has to happen. I got to put me in there. We got to switch places. Whatever. I'm the one that did it. Whatever has to be said would have to be said. So that's why I'm saying, like, the movement would have to be in place to say, Jared, you can't go visit her. She knew what she was doing. She's a soldier. She made her decision. You got to stay where you are. Because if I show up, I'm gonna be like, nah, I'm snitching on everybody, and I'm telling you to snitch, and because you gotta get out. So anyway, that's what that was a very difficult scene for me. You know,
but it also made me think of like what in Tulsa, Greenwood, how, you know, when Rollins is in jail, and I don't remember if it was Abrams or I don't think it was O.W. Gurley, but one of the few wealthy people was like, man, let the courts handle that. Like the white man was going to the jail and pretty much kill the dude. They're like, let the courts handle that instead of organize and go protect the guy. And so it's almost like this, I don't know, this concept of, you know, the people who work with the state, they're gonna obviously throw away the kids. They don't give a fuck about the kids. They don't care about nobody but their money and their businesses. But yeah, I don't know. I think I do understand that in terms of, and even it's hard to watch. Like, again, bringing up the Kevin Johnson situation, like he was in distress. He played football. Like everybody used him in school, the coaches or whatever. He played football. The state was, you know, terrorizing his mom. The drug. I guess I don't know how to phrase that, but she's attacked by drugs. So he grows up in a rough space. And then he sees a police, his brother died, police stepping over the brother body, pushing the mom. And, you know, he do what he need to do. Right. But he also has to, like, now, you know, I'm sorry, I apologize. They have to build help this white narrative behind him, because ain't nobody else going to save him. Ain't nobody else going to help him or even give a damn about, you know, his life about to be taken in a couple months.
Again, that's why look, knock on wood, I've never done more than a couple nights in a holding cell. And I jokingly say this, but I don't know how far from the truth it is. I'd have been like, if I didn't know I was getting out immediately, I'd have been like, something got to happen. Somebody got to snitch on somebody. Somebody got to do something. Got to happen. Like, hey, so listen, you can't leave it up to.
There's this skit, and I don't listen to them no more. But when I used to listen to Pimp Squad Click with T.I., and the man got caught. He said, "Hey," he called him, "Hey, come on down to the precinct, man. They got us. Hey, come on." He said,
"I mean,"
he said, "I can't do all this time by myself. Y'all help me in this shit to help me out." Like,
it's like they say, everybody folds under torture. So the real point is to only hold on so as long as possible, so everybody else can get away or finish their mission, because everybody's going to crack is the point, right? And I just so that's how I feel like my situation would be. Like, I'm gonna hold on as long as I can, but that's what I'm saying. Like anyway, that's why I also think, by the way, when we look at, sometimes we talk about you know, what happens to the children of radicals and revolutionaries. They don't often seem to follow suit. I get it. I fully understand now why. Like, I don't want it. It's and I was saying this again somewhere else, but I think maybe even immature view of the Vietnamese struggle that gets sometimes romanticized, I know, in Black liberation circles, but that idea of that intergenerational struggle where they did teach their children that they were going to have to fight and keep fighting and keep fighting. And that's how they ultimately relatively won or defended themselves. That's a difficult thing. I really struggle with that. And I admire that.
I wonder if the struggle, and I know this is going to probably set Diallo off, but I wonder if the struggle is the lack of spirituality, spiritual understanding, like, because again, if this thing is helping them be okay with dying, right? The people say everybody want to go to heaven, nobody want to die. But if this gives them a perspective about life that make them more, like, do you think that could be a case? Like, if there's no, like, if there's a direct tie connection to this life,
listen.
Like,
am I supposed to say something?
I don't know. He invited you to.
I think either one of y'all, like,
spirits ain't nothing supernatural. Here's the bottom line. If you look at everything we're supposed to be avoiding by not being radical revolutionaries, because if you're a radical revolutionary, what happens to you? Your community comes under siege. You people die, people get incarcerated, the community comes under surveillance and violent repression by militarized forces. When we're at our most apolitical, what's happening to us? There is no large militancy, there is no large movement against the state, but yet all of the consequences of militancy and revolution are still imposed on us. So we only have one choice in this whole thing. Whether we're going to suffer under genocidal oppression while organizing for resistance, or we're going to suffer under genocidal repression through passive acquiescence. Those are the only choices we have. Beyond that, we cannot humanize this system. We cannot prevent this system's atrocities against us. We can only navigate it. And we're not, because it is not even our lawfulness that protects us. It's not even our lawfulness. I'm not a violent dude. I've never pointed a gun at another human being. I'm a tree-hugging vegan. But that does not exempt me. It's just like what Jared said about the credit card thing. You know, it's just like Jared said with the credit card thing. There's a mass of people out there, and it's just through the laws of chance and statistics that you're not the one clipped. They had Dr. Dre splayed out over his Bentley in handcuffs because one of his wealthy white neighbors made a call to the police. And
even Oprah couldn't get into the jewelry store.
My son is an anime geek. He ain't about to hurt or push her. He's been a vegan all his life. He's an anime geek who's just trying to go to school and pursue his intellectual interests. But the moment he got a driver's license, the moment he moved out of my home into his, I know every stage of his development, there's a new level of danger and a new potential of harm that can come to him for no other reason than this system is oriented towards repression, oppression, and hyper-exploitation of African people. So there is no peace for us besides, like you said, running into spiritualism and delusional shit like that. So what we have to do only
what I wasn't saying running into it. Wait. I wasn't saying necessarily running into it, because again, I know you argue with liberation theology, but I'm saying
no such thing. I don't argue with it.
Listen. I'm saying if whatever you got to do to believe to be like you say, I'm okay. If you think that, you know, there's a Bible verse that says to be absent from the body, to be present with the Lord. Well, if you know that the worst thing that can happen to you in this life is the best thing, so that means why don't you go all out and do the shit that you're down here for? Because if you die, you're gonna be. God also
tells you to serve thy master on earth as you would serve God in heaven. That's why you don't.
Well, they say you got to rightly divide the Bible, like Paul said. You got to rightly divide the Bible. I mean,
you got to right.
There's things for you and there's things not for you.
Practicality is demanded.
But whatever's going to radicalize you, whatever's going to make you accept what you just said, I'm not willing to argue that.
You can't be radical and religious.
There's a couple.
Wait, huh?
Malcolm X, Nat Turner, Dr. King.
Oh my God. I love when y'all list these people who, number one, violated the tenets of their belief system and did not receive support from their belief system.
But here's the thing: you said violated.
I didn't say.
So if you tell me in order to be something, I have to violate the thing, this other thing, you give that thing credit for what I am.
But violated according to what? Because majority
Dr. King was a really bad Christian. Nat Turner was a really bad Christian. Malcolm X was a horrible bad Muslim.
Okay, white people are bad Christians, but that don't mean they don't use.
Not. They're good. Oh,
wait.
I don't know about that one.
Wait,
either.
No, I don't think. I think white.
We out the Pope. We out Muhammad.
No, I'm talking about in terms of the rhetorical ethic standpoint of, loving thy neighbor, all this other stuff. They're according to their statute.
See, you misread that. If you look at the historical context, your neighbor can only be another Hebrew. God said, love thy neighbor, and then go rape, pillage, and murder the next town over. So love thy neighbor does not mean love anybody that lives next to you. Love thy neighbor means people that are under the same covenant as you. See, that's why we sitting here thinking, oh, let's turn the other cheek and love thy neighbor. And the white folks who smacked you in the head with that stupid theology.
But you proving it. That's why. But you're proving the point.
Read it outside the historical and cultural context of which it was written.
Yeah, that's what rightly dividing is.
I love my brothers. And I stand with my brothers. Does that mean every male person is my brother?
That's what the concept of rightly dividing the word is. So, for instance,
dividing the word. Listen,
let me finish. So, in terms of however you read that damn book, if you read that, and we talked about this before, if you read that book and you got something from it that's going to help African people as a collective, then again, that's what I ain't here to argue if
to Diallo's point, and this is where I do agree with him on this, that if you read that book and get something radical from it, it's in spite of the intent of, not because of, because Diallo keeps telling us, and I think rightly so, that
got punked again.
that we collectively just keep getting
got punked again.
Let me tell you something, man. That's my new favorite YouTube channel.
And
let me tell you something.
Represents where I was about a decade ago.
Them Redskins.
And his rant, that video, I laugh at it so hard so many times. That rant, I don't know if he's playing. I don't know if it's a show or if it's a legit release for him, but it so spoke to my emotional state for so long with that football team, who just, when I peek up and look at it, continue to do what they always do. So
I got to send you the Baltimore one. It's a Baltimore Ravens fan. I can't remember his name. He got the Baltimore accent. Yeah,
but the Ravens, I don't feel that, but the Ravens have a recent winning history that they can point to. There are, like, if you are not my age, if you're not over 50, you have never seen the Washington football team win. Like you know, so like people who are in their 30s and 20s, they've never seen that team win.
Wait, so they wasn't winning with Clint Portis and Sean Taylor? I thought they have
not anything meaningful. They never went past like, I think the first round of the playoffs, even when they had Sean Taylor. They last won a Super Bowl after the 1991 season.
Doug Williams.
Doug Williams, and that's what I like about my man's shirt. Like, he's got all the important numbers from my generation on there. But anyway, listen. Let me take one more quick, because I want to talk a little bit about this Abram Harris book real quick. If you all have time, if not, do what you got to do.
I thought we were going to do a segment where everybody was sharing how much they love and agree with me.
We will. We can. If you all have time, we can get to that. I just need a couple.
I have a 9 o'clock appointment. I actually have a 9 that I had.
You're going to miss it.
And I moved it to 9 o'clock. Well, my wife said she would start it for me, but I got to get down there.
All right. Well, you'll have to catch it next time. Maybe you'll get some more praise.
Now Diallo want people to make him an altar and shit. See, I knew he was pseudo, switching shit on us.
You one told me. Jared said that somebody had been showing a love and appreciation, and he would.
No, Jared, we did. We got. I was going to say it's an answering critics
segment, but this morning.
Well,
Making promises, see, luring people in with false promises. It's like Scientology.
Oh wow. Oh wow.
All
right, anyway, we're gonna take a quick break and come right back. Maybe with Diallo, maybe not. And if not, we'll just catch you next time, and I'll save you some of the compliments for them.
All right.
I mix what I like, what I like, what I like, what I like, what I like. Oh, yeah. He's still here.
I actually, let me go see. Let me see if the guy's here yet.
The Lord made a way. He's here.
All right, I'm gonna take him out the studio. We'll see if he comes back real quick. But I just wanted to so I don't have much yet because I just got the book yesterday. But Abram Harris, in the last show I went through and read a good article about this book. But already I'm very glad that I got the firsthand source myself, because I'm definitely going to come back and deal with this some more. I got to finish reading it. But on the very first page, on the introduction, one of the beautiful things that Harris is doing here, and this is, of course, again, The Negro is Capitalist, a study of banking and business among American Negroes. And it was originally published in 1936. And what I like about what he does here immediately is he already does what, for my limited focus on buying power, is so important, because his whole argument, at least from the beginning, seems to be he's setting apart the two categories of Black political thought at the time. One that says buying power is legit and can be used, and one that says no, it can't. And I was like, what? I was like, what? This is like right out the gate. So he says, on the first page of the introduction, while the Negro's hope of creating an independent Black economy dates back to pre-Civil War days, the differential disadvantages suffered by the Negro masses as compared with the white since the Depression of 1929 have caused the ideal to gain renewed popularity. So he's saying after the crash of 1929, just like with the Satoshi nonsense after the crash of 2008, and the prolonged permanent recession that Black America suffers, there's a renewed, happening again, I feel like now, focus on this idea that Black capitalism is viable, and that purchasing power and buying power among Black people can be put to good use. So he says that, as Harris goes on to say, one of the groups advocating it, meaning advocating this buying power and collective use of the Black dollar. One of the groups advocating it follows the individualist economics and optimistic naivete of Booker T. Washington. It would therefore develop the Black economy upon a strictly competitive and private profit basis. So I'm sorry. I mischaracterized what Harris is doing here. My bad. What Harris is doing, for my purposes, sorry about that, he's saying everybody is saying purchasing power has a possibility with this renewed focus on the potential of the Black dollar doing something for the Black community. And he's just saying that the two groups are, one, the Booker T. Washington private profit group, and the Du Boisian collective economics group. And this is where I think, Geechee, you brought this up, we talked about it a little bit, where I think my dear sister, Dr. Gordon Nemhard, is missing the point, and Amos Wilson missed the point. I'm going to come back to him in a second. And maybe I do have to stop. I'm starting to feel maybe the COVID is catching up to me this morning. I'm starting to feel it's a little. Anyway, okay, Diallo had to dip, everybody. Okay, so peace to him, and we'll catch up with him next week. So what he calls, that is, Harris calls the naivete of Booker T. Washington and the the competitive private profit basis model. Another group would have it develop, that is, this independent Black economy, would have it develop through the mobilization of the purchasing power of the Black masses. On the one hand, by organizing the masses into producers and consumers, cooperatives, on the one hand, by organizing the masses into producers and consumer cooperatives, and on the other, by using the boycott to force white concerns that have a large Negro market to employ Negroes in clerical and executive positions. The leadership of this second group is being rapidly assumed by Dr. W.E.B. Du Bois, who has practically abandoned as futile the movement for Negro rights and civil liberty, which he so militantly led for a quarter of a century. So I think this tracks correctly. Initially, Du Bois, like many others, says we just need to be included in this thing. Then he realizes this thing is not inclusive regardless of race. And he starts coming up with models of cooperative economics, and maybe we can share our money a little bit within this system. And then, of course, after this book is published, Du Bois becomes more militant and eventually more socialist, more Pan-Africanist, and leaves the country, or is exiled, is almost forced out, either way. Or on the one hand, is kept from traveling, and then feels that his only hope is to leave permanently. Anyway, a little bit more with Harris here. It is impossible to draw any great distinction between these two groups. They shade imperceptibly into each other. This is why, again, this is so dope. So shout out to Dr. Nathan Connolly. Shout out to Mirza Baradaran for putting me on to Abram Harris. Shout out to Matthew Quest for finally writing about him in a way that has led me to get this book and read for myself, because what Harris is saying here is similar to what I'm trying to argue is still happening today. The entire political spectrum, the entire Black political spectrum, is advocating one form or another of this use of the Black dollar and the collective financial strength of the Black community. And each of them, as Harris goes on to argue, is wrong. Their common ideology, he says, Harris does, is middle class. Neither group, of course, sees that the limits of a separate economy are precariously narrow within the confines of the present industrial system. How the independent Black economy is to develop and function in the face of persistent industrial integration, business combinations, and centralization of capital control, and the concentration of wealth, none of the advocates of the plan can explain. The same thing today, the same thing, whether it's crypto, buying power, cooperatives, whatever. Here I come asking the Harris question: how will the independent Black economy develop and function in the face of persistent industrial integration, business combinations, and the centralization of capital control and the concentration of wealth, none of in the white community, and nobody has an answer to that. Du Bois, while admitting the difficulty of establishing his segregated cooperative economy, believes that through self-sacrifice and enterprise, the plan is highly feasible. So this is why I got to go back, Geechee, and read, because I know Dr. Gordon Nembhard talks about Abram Harris in her book, but I don't recall her talking about him in the way that he seems to be saying for himself is his problem with this idea of cooperative economics. So I got to finish reading the book and go back and read her argument more carefully. But I feel like, and as I'll come to I'll skip ahead in a minute and just get to it. Harris is something that Amos Wilson needed to have read, and I don't think he did read, and does the same thing in his work to misrepresent Du Bois and his argument as being viable, when Harris, I think, accurately said 100 years ago, Du Bois was wrong then. So yeah. It's like people are picking up Du Bois now when he was already said to have been wrong, and I think he in his own lifetime said his focus was wrong. But anyway, go ahead if you want. You know.
No, I was saying, like, I mean, I know Amos read Robert Allen, and he didn't get everything that he could have gotten from Allen, because even in his book, The Blueprint for Black Power, at the end, the little bit of quotes he had from Robert Allen sometimes, if not always, contradict what he also was saying about economics and business. So, it's almost like today, instead of confirmation bias searching something on Google, maybe that's kind of what they did with the book. Like, they went into points that they made points and then go, but I'm just like, because
I'm only on the second page. and Harris is saying, like, these are the camps and they're all wrong. Yeah. Just a little My bad. Go ahead. I think I cut you off.
No. I just again one of those things of like, because when I hear, no, I didn't hear her say something about what's her name, Kizzy. I didn't hear her say something about academics or whatever. But I think
it was something she mumbled to me. I don't know if it got picked up. She was like mumbling it to me about
you know, it didn't get picked up. But
go ahead.
But I'm saying, like, even she have this report out about her movement where she convinced people to buy black or whatever. But it's always interesting how these people will shun supposedly black scholars and people in the academy, but all of their talking points coming from somebody in either a made-up academy or a white academy. So it's like, it's not like you saying that you don't want to deal with academia, because you're literally quoting something that comes from either pseudo academia or people who claim to be in that space.
No, it's very simple, and I've seen it I've literally actually watched it. I've seen it in panels and other spaces happen live as I'm sitting there, where initially my PhD, because either people think I'm on their team or they don't know what my argument is. Initially, the PhD is something to be respected, and they're like, "Ooh, look, we got a doctor." When I say something that they disagree with, they're like, "Oh, he's just another academic." So it's kind of like what you were saying about confirmation bias. Anyway, just a little bit more here, and then I want to get to the point about Amos Wilson, and then if we want, we can I don't know, we can or wrap up or come back to the comments or whatever. At all events, Harris is talking still about Du Bois. He, that is Du Bois, maintains that the experiment must be tried if the Negro workers and farmers are to survive until the inevitable social revolution. As long as capitalism remains, however, it is reasonably certain that the main arteries of commerce, industry, credit, and finance will be controlled by white capitalists. Under the circumstances, the great mass of black and white men will continue to, again, he says here, under these circumstances, the great mass of black and white men will continue dependent upon these capitalists for their livelihood, and the small Negro businessman and the small white capitalist will continue subordinate to these larger financial and industrial interests. Thus, it is obvious that the independent black economy, whether it develops upon the basis of private profit or cooperative or cooperation, cannot be the means of achieving the Negro's economic salvation. So that's where he's starting. That's where Harris is starting. Cooperation, no cooperation. Private business attempts at petty capitalism under Booker T. Washington's model. Cooperative economics and business models under Du Bois. It don't matter. It don't matter. White folks got all the money. They got all the capital, all the investment. They control all the major means of production and all the major sectors of the economy. You cannot generate the level of wealth. And black people, who are your primary consumer base, don't ever make enough money to help you expand. So it's not going to work. All right. But then I want to skip ahead, because at the end of the book, he actually has a section or a subsection of a chapter that's actually titled Negro Purchasing Power. And Harris talks a little bit about, and he's showing here some of the history of, and I made a note here. I'm gonna come back to all of this probably over and over again. I don't want to go too much on it this morning, but from what I wrote here in my notes is that one of the reasons why I think Du Bois, and this is I'm getting from how Harris lays this out here, by talking about the middle class business interests of particularly those in the black press and black business community who want to promote this madness of buying power mythology. That one of the reasons why I think it may be that Du Bois fell into that myth, as did Garvey, is through their connection as editors of commercial presses. Once they saw the need to get advertising revenue to have those presses survive, I think it helped them tap into that black business mindset of, I need to tap into this black consumer base and open the door for this I think that might have been what's going on here. But it's also that, anyway, as Harris writes here, Since the depression of this purchasing power theory of employment has won an ever-growing body of adherence among, since the depression, this purchasing power theory of employment has won an ever-growing body of adherence among Negroes. One expression of the acceptance of it is the segregated cooperative economy recently proposed by no less a figure than Dr. W.E.B. Du Bois, former editor of The Crisis and militant exponent of the black man's rights. Dr. Du Bois's proposals have thus far failed to take on practical significance. Almost identical in purpose with Du Bois' program, but more militant, is the "Don't Buy Where You Can't Work" movement. Beginning in Chicago late 1931, it swept eastward with the result that the movement now has important branches in Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, New York, Boston, Baltimore, Washington, Richmond, and Atlanta. Through the use of the picket and boycott, the proponents of "Don't Buy Where You Can't Work" have forced the employment of a number of Negro clerks in white stores and Negro neighborhoods. There is no record, however, in the total number of jobs that have been created in this way. In Washington, D.C., the total number is reputed to be less than 75. Nevertheless, this movement, symbolized in the New Negro Alliance of Washington, the Citizens League of the Fair Play of New York, and the Citizens Committee of Baltimore, bids fair to achieve national scope. It is destined to supplant the older movement of the bigger and better Negro business. Oh, and that's where I thought, because of the commercial press institute, that's where I was getting the part about the commercial press, that his editorial shit. So Harris is talking about here, and what he does, and I have to come back to this to get more into it, is that he's saying this attempt to use boycott and to impact white corporate behavior through a threat of withholding Black financial support. He goes through a number of reasons why that doesn't work, but his focus is primarily on how the ultimate goal of this is to get a few Black people hired into what would be considered more advanced white collar positions. But that ultimately it's untenable if the goal is to help the entire Black community. And that's where I think we're still held up today, and something that I think people continue to miss when they refer back to Du Bois and this cooperative economics, or when they refer back to histories of boycott. They seem to have all been ignoring what Harris seems to have understood 100 and some years ago. So anyway, I'm very excited to keep reading this and get more into it. But his particular focus on the failure of purchasing power as an idea, as a concept to rally around, and showing how old it is, yet again, is fascinating. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, now you made me go back to what Jessica was saying, and I'm remembering and seeing that she was quoting Abram when he wrote a letter to Du Bois, because in her first mention of him is more so of Du Bois was inspired by him because he was supportive of what he was doing with the second wave of what he was doing. But he also, when he's saying that even if we do cooperatives, these things are going to fail, he was also talking about, like, because the intelligence level of the Negro is not up to par. But he also mentioned something about, like, capital, or it being wiped out by monopolistic capital. So I don't know if when she quoted it, she just used the intelligence part because she was trying to thrust political education. It's kind of like, well, if y'all don't get educated, y'all not going to do the right thing. So Abram said both, and it looks like she only included one.
That's interesting. Again, I'd have to go back and look at how she, because I know she wrote about Harris, but I don't remember getting from that what I'm getting here just in a few pages from Harris's direct work.
Yeah, she wrote from him, "I contend, however, that no program of economic welfare that is planned for the Negro is going to succeed until his so-called intellectual emancipation, so that it can furnish guidance." So it's like, again, but when you go further down, he talks about, like, the monopolistic capitalistic power that that white folks could use to, subvert it. But again, if in the whole book, the whole collective courage, which I agree with, she talked about political education and organization, political education and organization, but she also is heavy on cooperatives being a solution as opposed to being a Band-Aid while you gather your solution.
Well, anyway, I mean, well, regardless of because I don't have a command of the work, currently, my memory, and I don't have anything written or notes in front of me, but whether Dr. Jessica Gordon Nembhard is right or wrong on this, or whether I'm right or wrong on this, Harris is saying very clearly, and whether Harris is right or wrong,
right?
I don't know. I suspect, or I would have an argument, but Harris is at least clearly saying this is not about education. This is about capital and who controls the means of production. And white people have it, black people don't, and it doesn't matter whether you cooperate or not. It's not going to solve the problem if the goal is the collective. And I'm like, wow. So he's right out the gate saying that. So yeah. Anyway, what do you think? How you feeling? What should we do? Should we wrap it up, or do you want to get into some of the comments? What
we can finish it. We can finish with the comments.
All right, let me take a quick break. We'll come back and get into some of the comments here. Don't go.
I mix what I like, what I like, what I like, what I like, what I like.
All right, let's go. Let's keep this extended edition going this morning. So I got a lot. So again, everybody, we want to continue to encourage that when you watch this show or anything else on the platform, that when you got something to say, stay in the YouTube comments and definitely
put it in the comments.
Put it there, because I go through and look for the comments that come to my show, and I would encourage you to invite hosts of other shows to do the same, so that we don't have to go out here and say that we
got punked again.
And we don't ever have to ask,
what is we doing?
Anyway, let me pull this up here. And then with this one, like a lot of the stuff that came in is like good news, like nice stuff. So there was a lot, but I think we can go through a lot of it pretty quickly. Bryce X says, appreciate the responses. Tried to watch Marighella, a movie about an Afro-Brazilian guerrilla communist who influenced the BLA. It'd be cool to see your thoughts. I have not seen that. I don't know if anybody else has, but I'll have to add that to the list and check it out. Shaka, in response to our discussion of the Woman King, said it is one thing to have a narrative that was complicity by a few, and another narrative that depicts Black people in general as partners and co-conspirators. I am ashamed of both of these brothers for not encouraging a code of not supporting any and all things that white supremacy used to psychologically harm us. So again, I'm not entirely sure my argument was understood. I just want to be very clear. I'm not encouraging people to support the Woman King or any commercial media. In fact, I'm quite the opposite. I'm simply saying that my Vernon philosophy is not an overt call for boycott. It's an intellectual boycott, as I was sort of calling it in quotes, because I'm recognizing that most people are not going to avoid these media, and that I think we need to have some sort of analytical frame or protective coding that we use, like a prophylactic of sorts, intellectual prophylactic that we use when we do engage these spaces. So I'm not saying that we should support it. I'm just saying I know a lot of people are going to see the Woman King, and I think we have to have a critique and an analysis of it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, oftentimes when I was doing work with Jabari, like, the concept of watch viewings and discussion, I think, is important. Like, again, we ain't gonna stop people from watching it, but if we could do viewings and conversations and dialogue to people expand. It's almost like reading a book together. Like you're gonna have different vantage points, and somebody might open up some perspective that you didn't see or know.
Wow. Emma's class solidarity ends at my cola. She says I need to lose money. Dang. Anyway, okay. that's gangster. No, I hear you, and I think I agree with that. That was sort of, that's sort of the logic I'm bringing to it. A few more things here. Afra sings, wait a minute, is there a go-go version of Vivir, or did Ear Doctor mix this? No. So again, that's my track. I did that. And and no, there's no go-go mix. Mark Anthony did not do a go-go remix of Vivir Mi Vida. I did that. And the goal I had was, again, I wanted to have some Latino MCs, some Spanish speaking MCs meet up with some Black MCs in a go-go band and create an anthem for the streets, an activist anthem for the streets that had the pocket in it. That was my goal. So that's what that is. And then Christopher is asking, where do people leave their comments? In the comment section. So you did it.
Yeah, Hercules. No,
Hercules. Like you did it. You did exactly.
Put it in the comments.
That boy good. No, understand.
That boy good. Yeah, exactly. Very, very well done. Oh yeah, right here. Jesse Ginsburg says that as someone who loves baseball, love this analogy parallel. One of my favorite things I admitted to is the fastball analysis. The documentary Fastball, narrated by Kevin Costner about baseball, has a clip in it that I use in my classes, used to use all the time. So I made a little video about it, because the point of the video is that the reason batters in baseball think that they think from their perspective that the fastest throwing fastball pitchers make the ball rise as it crosses home plate, making it that much harder to hit. Like from their perspective, it comes across and goes upwards. And the documentary breaks down using physicist assistants and all the math, and shows you that it's not that the ball obviously goes up as it crosses the plate. That would be physically impossible. Gravity is still working on the pitch. So from the time it's thrown, it is descending. But because the pitch, when it's upwards of 100 miles an hour, is moving so fast, our eyes can't watch the ball. Our eyes don't work fast enough to deliver the messages. So when the ball leaves the pitcher's hand at that speed, the eye takes a snapshot of the ball at that point, but it can't follow the path of the ball the whole way to the plate. So what it does is just what our minds do, and which is why memory is not reliable either, is that our mind starts filling in the gaps. So the mind says, the eye isn't giving me up-to-date information, so that's cool. I'm gonna start with where the last thing I saw, and I'm gonna fill in the gaps. But because it does that, and because the brain isn't able to calculate the speed, it's telling the batter, based on where I saw that pitch leave the pitcher's hand, the ball should be about right here, and you should be able to swing it and hit a home run. But because it's moving so fast, it's actually at a higher level than the batter is expecting to see it. So to the batter, they say, oh, the ball went up. No, the ball is just higher than you thought it would be, because at that rate of speed, it's descending at a slower speed than a slower moving pitch. Gravity is impacting it at a lower level because of how fast it's moving. And that creates an optical illusion. And I'm saying the same thing happens with media, that we are given these presets at an early age about race and class and gender and history and whatever. And as we get older, the world is moving so fast, and the realities that compete against those initial messages are coming so fast that our brain just starts filling in the gaps based on what we were given initially. And that's why our analysis is so wrong. And we're often swinging at the plate and missing. And we end up with people sitting on panels next to me talking about we got to have buying power and financial literacy. And we got people over here talking about, no, we just need to vote for Biden. And we're all over the place. And because that pitch, and we thought, oh, I got it. And it's just so anyway, that's it. So I thought when I saw that documentary, I was like, oh, that's fascinating. And it works perfectly for what I'm trying to do. And I'm glad Jesse caught up to it and agrees. So.
Also just,
yeah, go ahead.
In that line of being emotionally connected to the movies, I don't know if you ever played baseball, and I don't know if you ever saw a curveball that make you run out of the box.
Oh yeah.
It looked like it's gonna hit you, even though it's a strike when your ass run out the box. It looked like it's gonna hit you. So, I have actually, when I was a kid, I did play a little baseball, and I also got to in a summer camp once engage a pro player whose career didn't go past whatever single or double A, but so he didn't make it to the major leagues. But relative to a bunch of kids, he was obviously really good, and he was able to do a lot with those pitches. So he would have us stand in there and say, he would tell us, like, I'm in certain cases, I want to show you what it looks like. And he would throw a fastball and be like, damn, that's crazy. And then he would throw a curveball. And just like you're saying, it would either look like it's going to be way out here and it comes in and catches right in and is a strike, or it looks like it's going to hit you and it dips the other way. Or to see that sinker and it's like, it looks like it's right here and then it just drops as it comes, like all of that stuff. And it's wild, and they can mess with you. So it is an optical illusion at that point. America's game, baseball. Hey, so one thing, I think the brother who was asking about the comments, maybe he was talking about trying to participate with the live chat. Because
that's probably what.
Which I don't know if YouTube is going to eventually do, where you can respond to the live chat people, but I mean, I think.
Oh, right.
Sometimes you feel like you're missing out because you want to jump in on the chat too.
Right. Oh, that's actually a good idea. They should probably do that. You know what I mean? Same thing. Deatria Harris is asking about that mix. No, you can't purchase the mix, but you can just keep watching our show, and every show we start with the mix. So you can
look at you learning some media tricks.
Media trick. Here we go. Geechee, the hair looking immaculate, brother. Great talk as usual, folks. Diallo is funny as shit.
Always.
Yeah, man.
But appreciate it. Yeah, I don't know what to do with this now. I'm about to cut it off.
Yeah.
But appreciate it though.
Yeah, there you go. From the recent my trip out to Whitman College, Dr. Ball, you really surgical with this shit. Your background as broadcaster makes your presentations even more captivating and effective as you provide substantive analysis. Bravo. Cosmic One, I appreciate the compliment, but I don't think it's my broadcasting. I think to the extent that I'm an engaging speaker is because of the classroom. It's the classroom experience and having to try to captivate 4 classes a semester for 16, 17 years, and trying to find ways to keep people focused and engaged. I think that's if that's where it is, that's why I'm better in a lecture than I am on a panel and or in one of those, particularly those you got like 3 minutes to make your point. I need time to build and work and move and.
I think you did a excellent job on that panel, and that I guess the classroom also taught you for arrogant students to not go off on them or because
who's arrogant in there? Who was what happened there?
No, I'm just talking about like at the panel, like the way the sister was interrupting, the way she was confidently speaking about shit that she had no space to. So I can imagine. If you're ever challenged by a student, you probably like, all right, bro.
I mean, I've been better. I've tried to mature and I've learned a couple things here or there. But my daughters were also present, so it makes it easier to stay responsible. And I did have to think, don't snap in front of your kids, like don't, But no, I've tried to get better with it. I try not to take it too personally, and But It is something that has come with some age. I will say that. So Victor Thomas says boycott Woman King, and I clipped this to bring up on the show because I wanted to make sure that, again, just like what I think I was saying a minute ago,
ADOS people were.
Exactly. Like, that's not my point. My point isn't to offer a critique of it to make it an African diaspora versus Black America thing. My point is, if anything, we need radical diaspora and linkages to combat that kind of harmful discussion that Hollywood wants to lead us in terms of how the diaspora has engaged each other. So that's why I wanted to make sure, Victor, I don't think we're on the same team with this. I am soda all day, every day. The solidarity of dispersed Africans is the only, logical approach to that I can think of. So just wanted to make sure.
So one of the things that I guess is relative, I remember a comment said that, I think Jared wasting his time being in those spaces. So I guess it's a twofold thing: showing up for things like that, the relevance of it and why it's important. And also in terms of, like, on an average day, a lot of these people who celebrate Woman King is kind of like, oh, I don't care about this woke stuff and hoteps and do code, and like that's all you talk about. But then all of a sudden, when the white power structure present you with something, you uncritically accept it. So I guess I want you to kind of reiterate how you feel, or why you feel it's important to show up in these spaces, even when like again, I know Sinclair might be your boy and he my other homeboy's boy, but to me, I feel like ambush. Like, I think my homeboy asked me, like, yo, do you want to go? You want to be a part of this? I'm like, nah. And at that time, I thought you wasn't going. And I was like, I don't want to be in a space where I'm being ambushed and I'm going to be the only person, speaking.
Well, I didn't think, but it wouldn't have been an ambush. I never thought it was going to be an ambush, because even as we were driving to the event, I was talking with my daughters a little bit about how I expected it not to go well. So I knew I wasn't going to be welcomed, and I knew there was going to be hostility towards my argument. But in general, again, I usually do start with the starting point of, I only want to build with those who have reached a certain level of agreement with me on certain levels of things. I don't want to be arguing over certain arguments. Well, yeah. So in general, I'm not going to be building with the people in that conference. But right. for the purposes of an invitation, like I said the other day, I feel like, to the extent that I'm doing public intellectual work, if addressing myself to the Black community, if the Black community I'm addressing myself to, even in disagreement, wants to invite a conversation with me, I feel I have to do it. So I don't expect it to go well necessarily, but I feel like I have to do it. So I don't think I have to debate everybody. I don't think I owe everybody this, that, and the third. But if in this case, I think I don't know. So anyway, that's my logic. It may not be right, but that's my logic.
No, I mean, I definitely think it depends. Like, there's some conversation that you won't have the emotional labor or even intellect to kind of participate in, because that there won't be any rationale. Like, but even in that space, like the facilitator, which I wasn't super shocked that that's how she moved, because I kind of know of her too. Mm-hmm. But if the facilitator is pro Bitcoin, everybody on the panel is pro Bitcoin, then only right is gonna be like, yeah, let's cut him off real quick. So
I mean, it was what it was. And word from the point. Please put this in a comment on a particular so that we can deal with it in one of these sessions, because this is the argument people keep making when they want to reduce my critique of Black capitalism to a bullet point, talking point, and to avoid the nuance. That's what is often said. But so it's not, that's not, but that's clearly not what I'm saying. That's clearly not what I'm advocating. And it also suggests that Black capitalism and entrepreneurialism will lead us out of poverty and begging. And It's not. It's Black people begging for corporate charters, Black people begging for white investment capital, Black people begging for white customers, Black people, begging for entree into white supported media spaces and conferences and panels. That's what that is. So this claim of it being some radical nationalistic endeavor is absurd. But please put it in the comment and we can deal with it.
I mean, I do like for those people to events sometimes like show up in space and if they have these critiques, like the verbally or physically say it, because a lot of times it's like people probably copy and paste stuff and they can't really stand on their principles or articulate it. Like if you're confronted, like there's times when we brought people on and they might be saying stuff and you kind of like, they don't even make sense to themselves after they try to say.
And to be fair, like, because I've said the same thing in reverse. Like, I don't want my argument or I don't want the ideas that I'm trying to support to be judged by my ability in a given moment to defend them or represent them. So people who are critical of me, that's why I keep saying, if you don't like what I'm saying, read my book, listen to what I'm saying, or in a video even, and then write out your argument or do a video, whatever, do a podcast explaining what it is that I've done that you disagree with and why. And that I think would be helpful. But I don't think I've not seen anybody do that yet.
Yeah.
Even when what's the sister's name? When she had Jabari on talking about my book, a little bit about my book. Maya, Sister Maya. They only did like a couple chat. I don't even think I don't think everybody had read it.
No, so
the one I saw, they hadn't even read it.
No, he haven't read it. But again, when I came on there, me and Asafo and our sister Veronica, we came on there. That's when she was reading the book in her little book club. But that's when she was like in super agreement with everything you have said. And then a week later, do the Boyce Watkins event. So
wow, okay.
So she read it. Now Jabari, on the other hand, like, like he said,
his boy hadn't read it either. That's the one that wanted to debate me. His boy wanted to debate, and I was like, well, not if he ain't read the book. Like, what are we going to debate?
Yeah,
that's just disrespectful. Anyway, let me move on here. In the What is Socialism, I posted that podcast recently, which I think is a classic, with Brian Becker and Eugene Puryear about what is socialism, what the F is socialism. And I think it's a great discussion that actually gets to a lot of what I don't see happen elsewhere in terms of not only what is the standard approach to what socialism is, but how do socialists engage the people that we talk about here, the Touaregs and Nkrumahs, et cetera, and so forth, in the African world. So I think that's one of the things I remember positively from that. But Desiree says here, so much knowledge dropped here. So good to hear Puryear and Becker on I Mix What I Like. I got to tune in to this damn station on YouTube and off YouTube. This is amazing. I still wake up every day and can't believe this channel exists sometimes. It really, it makes RT feel like a candle. This is fire in my soul. Right on, Desiree. Appreciate it. That's what we're here for.
Socialism is Bitmari.
What happened?
Socialism is Bitmari. That's what Sinclair. Bitmari. Have you ever looked at the site, man? I'm telling you,
I have, but he actually says that. I don't know
if he's saying that, but he got like all socialists on his background. Like, I mean, you got Thomas Sankara and all them. And
oh, right.
According to the his words, he's gonna be able to share wealth and redistribute wealth. So that's what Bitcoin is gonna do. So anyway, I would think it's socialism.
I also recently posted a classic impromptu meeting I had on the fly at, I think, a Dick Gregory event with Miss Dory Ladner, and we did a quick interview about her time in SNCC. Meow Mix says, I love it. I love this. It makes spreading the white power message even easier when I could just mimic the language you already normalized. So I'm assuming this was some troll. Is this trolling? Is this why I clipped this? But anyway, I appreciated the comment, and then David Silberg on the socialism, whatever socialism, said, great one. That's good to see. Appreciate that. Hip hop and the HBCU, an older but similar to the more recent conversation. This one included Brother Teodros and Dr. Carr. And Greg Levy says here that Dr. Ball is my favorite all-time, is my all-time favorite intellectual. So I definitely had to clip that. I appreciate you, Greg. Appreciate you. All-time favorite intellectual. That's what's up. In fact,
message.
There's people say that, yeah, he's that only when it comes to hip hop. I don't listen to him for nothing else, just the hip hop stuff. That brother knows what he talk about when it comes to hip hop. That other shit, I don't listen.
Not that other stuff. Okay, all right. Well, I'll take what I can get. Richard Sheffield says we need this information regarding Miss Dory Ladder. I agree. Like it's great to hear from someone who really was doing that work and involved, offer her perspectives firsthand. Even where they don't fully, dovetail with every view that every one of us has. It's important to hear from them. I was glad I was able to capture that and we could post it. Back to the hip hop and HBCU discussion we had. Dr. Ball's intro was fire. We've allowed other groups of people to claim that hip hop is for everyone when it actually came from us and was created from our experience dealing with the racist system. So I don't remember exactly what I was saying, but I don't know that I appreciate the compliment, but I'm not sure entirely King Hercules got my point. I'm not saying hip hop can't be appreciated or enjoyed by or even engaged by other groups. It's just that I just am always confused why people are hesitant to give its origins proper credit. And I know that's gotten some renewed debate lately around, Latinos involvement and diaspora Africans involvement in hip hop. But there's really no way you can look at hip hop history and not recognize it as a creation of the diaspora within the particular context of the diaspora experience here in the United States. But to say that it's only Black America would be foolish, because one, Black America is itself not only Black America. In other words, Black America is itself an extension of a diaspora. So to act like that there would be no connection, I think would be silly. But at the same time, yeah, Black people created this, and most importantly, it's the communities that created it are as worse off today as ever. So anyway,
again, I struggle with listening to Greg Carr, so I listened to that as well, and I had to skip past because some, I don't know, some of the stuff, I don't know if it's the animation and how he talks or just some of the things he do, but it seems it's really hard for me to listen to the brother. So I'll skip through.
Honestly, I only struggle with listening to his current analyses. I have often enjoyed the way he did his work, so, and again, it was just, when I posted, it was just another reminder of how far back we go and why I think I've been able to see the political departure he's made more recently. And, and we debated some of that. So people should go watch that. On the Riot Starter show on this channel. So go enjoy that. From the papers of Mumia Abu Jamal, Sean Bates says, thank you for the freedom fighters thank you to the freedom fighters but there are plenty of Black independent institutions that could have took those papers. I'm going to put a name out there. Some might be controversial, but for right now, she has bought a building and is in the works of establishing a foundational Black American library in Los Angeles. Who is the she? Because I thought that was Tariq Nasheed's thing. Or is that what Sean meant to be saying when he typed she? Not that I'm not dissing. I'm saying, did he mean to say she'd and wrote she? I don't know. But my argument, what first turned me away from ADOS and FBA is that the analysis is conservative, not so much anything else. Their analysis, their argument, their politics are conservative. So I don't know how serious Sean is being here, but no ADOS FBA movement or effort could openly welcome the struggles of political prisoners. They're antithetical to those. They don't want to be involved with Mumia and radical movement In fact, they've said that they are the replacement, the improvement of those movements. So I don't see why I can't see an FBA library supporting having a section in support of Mumia and his papers, and I would not want them there any more than I would want them at Brown. But Pam Africa said, you know, whatever gets the discussion out there. And she also reminded me that, by the way, that Brown doesn't have all the papers. So it's not like there's not stuff still out here that, you know, they're not in control. They don't have everything. But anyway, from the museums, the cultural memory, Tut Mudbone says the sanctification of colonialism, neocolonialism is so subtle, so pervasive, and part of the story imposed upon us that many of us not only miss that we are being manipulated, but we support their right to do so. I agree with that. Cipriano Belser says, great segment, Dr. Ball. I have a question for you that is relevant to what you spoke about here. I am visiting DC and Baltimore for the first time next week for an OSHA conference. I don't know what that is. OSHA? That's not, I know that's not OSHA, but what is, I don't know what this is. Do you have any places you would consider culturally significant, the full spectrum of culture that should be visited while there? That's a good question. Culturally significant places in DC or Baltimore. Geechee, what do you think about that one? Or just in general, yeah, what do you think about that? What do you think about that?
Hold on, I was looking up OSH. That's occupational, yeah, occupational safety and health administration.
Oh, okay, right on.
Hold on, but what? Oh, let me read it again. Do you have any places?
Do you have any
considered culturally? I mean, everyone's place, obviously, but
everyone's. That's a good one, right on North
everyone's,
Avenue, right there,
yeah.
not far from North and Penn. Baltimore.
I mean, I think Paul over there, where Jabari's barbershop is at, and what's that place on 25 in St. Paul? The first one, what's his guy name? The restaurant, and you have this events there, Terrence Restaurant.
Oh, in Baltimore, is you talking about Terra Cafe?
Terra Cafe, yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I think up and down there. Obviously, you got to go to Pennsylvania Avenue. Yeah, those are kind of initial, you know, Druid Hill stuff that's always going over there. I guess West Baltimore would be the place, man. I think all of the spots that I'll probably tell you is in West Baltimore.
I honestly don't know if I have any spots left that I would, you know, the first thing I was thinking is you got to go to, I don't even know anymore. Like, can you get go-go tapes? You got to go, like, if you're not going to go to a go-go, you got to go get you got to go to, once upon a time, I would have said go to Iverson Mall or go to the corner of Georgia Avenue, next Georgia and Florida to that spot. What's the name of that spot? And get your go-go tapes. I guess, you know, people would have said at one point like Ben's Chili Bowl or something like that. I don't really.
You go to Melba's. You go to Melba's and get some good juke music and drinks.
I'm sure people would say, yeah, I don't know about that spot. I'm sure people would say Sankofa Books in DC. I haven't been there since we were
oh yeah. DC.
More or less banned. We're not really banned, but we were disinvited. So I don't go anymore. But you know, I'm not going to stop Black people from gathering. I'm not going to encourage Black people not to gather somewhere.
Any place in Anacostia. The Anacostia. What's that?
Yeah, I mean, I just know. Really, what I'm hesitating with is that, like, I don't know. I don't personally feel any connection to any of these spaces anymore. So
well, not anymore.
That's just my bias. That's just my bias. Like, I don't feel like there's any spots, like they're either all gentrified or gone or have politically sort of disavowed themselves, you know, or I don't know. So honestly, I don't know. I don't have any good spots.
But the reason why they say culturally significant, I mean, again, busboys and stuff like that.
Pun intended. I don't know if Yipper is making a pun, but you know,
he was banned. No, but like
I was in band, you know. Anyway, but
they can get some cultural significance at like like I guess it's still commercial. So if you want to go commercial, you can go to places like Bus Boys. But
no, I'm good, Big Teal. Thanks. This is I'm not stretched. I'm not strained. Busboy, I mean, you know, it's a nice, comfortable, bougie spot to go.
Yeah.
But do I feel like you have to go see Busboys when you're in town? No. If anything, I'm a hypocrite or you know, whatever, because you know, I go to the one out here now in Howard County. But I've always kind of resisted it. Like for me, Busboys was the gentrifier. Like I'm still Cafe Mawanage. You know, like I used to tell people all the time when that first Busboys was built down there at 14th Street, 14th. I was saying like, don't go. Like it's the bougie replacement of Cafe Mawanage. And I remember this brother telling me, he said, but I like the night. He was like, I like how nice it is. I like how, and I was like, I get it, but that's the point. And then shortly thereafter, Cafe Mawanage burnt down.
Oh, wow.
You know?
I mean, they were hosting some decent community.
So I said it funny like that. I don't mean to suggest that Busboys had something to do with it, but it did seem, I don't know, not like it felt to me at the time like this was part of a gentrifying move. It just felt convenient. It just felt convenient. Not that Busboys did it, but it did feel convenient that because Mawanage was considered a blight, like politically, etc. And then they get rid of it, and now it's whatever that is next to the New Howard Theater. And then they had the people were saying, you know, it wasn't burnt down. It wasn't. And I remember there was an independent journalist I used to, you know, not work with, but see from time to time at different events. And he told me that he heard directly from one of the firefighters there that it had to have been set intentionally and that it was in a building owned by Radio 1. It was a Kathy Hughes owned building.
Kathy got money.
I mean, you know, you just never know. You're right. I mean, that's the thing. Like, it's like, given what we know of this world, would I put it past somebody like that to say we need to get this thing gentrified faster? Let's set a fire. No. Did it just work out conveniently to get this little radical outpost removed, and everybody now almost exclusively goes to Busboys? At least that I remember. I don't know what's going on anymore, so I don't want to act like I know anymore. But
I mean, they got some low power. Like, don't the Busboys guy? I don't know. I don't think he's black.
Andy Shalal. No, he's Iranian.
He got some money and some little political weight. So.
Oh yeah, he definitely has political weight, and I'm not saying he's done all bad. I've just not. I mean, he's, you know, political. My biggest complaint is I used to put in the suggestion box is that you keep depicting Dr. King as a dreamer, and they brought that brand out here to the Columbia one, and I was like, he was not a dreamer. He said his dream was a nightmare and he was killed for it. But you all, you know, you keep perpetuating that mythology. But that was it. I mean, you know, they, you know, and you know, I mean, but I was going to get married in Mawanage. Like that was where we were going to get married. Like that was the spot. Like I really loved that whole, a black woman owned it. It was communal, community based. They did the whole menu was like, you know, all the like, you know, what has been co-opted elsewhere, but it was like Brother Sincere did a breakfast program out of there for kids. The menu had all the names, like the Fred Hampton Burger, whatever they were doing with all that stuff. Like it was dope, but it was, you know, humble. It didn't have all the bougie investment and the fancy this and the nice that and the this and the that. And it didn't have a bar. You know, that was, you know, it didn't have a liquor license. So that was, you know, another thing. But
what you think about Red Emma's in Baltimore, even though that's not,
I've only been invited there once, and I don't know. I've never really, I don't hang out much, and I don't hang out much in Baltimore. So I don't know. I only know what I've heard, and I do know that the book talk that was supposed to be set up there by my publisher for the I Mix What I Like book never happened. So I don't know whose fault that is, but I'm a little, you know, I remember that. But no, I don't have any thoughts. I don't know.
Well, so I'm gonna just organize you the second book talk for Bus Boys, and we're gonna, make amends.
For Bus Boys. Yeah, there we go. Anyway,
I'm gonna make some calls this afternoon.
Let me move through some more of these, because there was some more interesting talk. Dr. Ball, thanks for your thoughts. Do you believe academic and public libraries serve a purpose similar to museums? Well, I think libraries are political. They've always been political. What books are available, what books they make sure they keep around and whatnot. But I admit to not seeing them in quite the same way. But maybe I'm wrong in that. I may be wrong in that. Maybe I do need to look at them, more in the same way. And I do have a bias for librarians. I admit that. So maybe that's just a blind spot for me. But anyway. And thank you, Denise, for your comment. BPM K at SQ says, I just finished watching your Museums, Cultural Memory, National Identity, and found it very thought-provoking. It made me rethink, analyze a recent walk I took through a museum here in San Quentin State Prison. Naturally, there's a section on the weapons used both against the COs and on the incarcerated men imprisoned here, and all of the weapons displayed had descriptions of where made, found, etc. I came upon one weapon prominently displayed, and ironically, it was the only one actually labeled with the person's names who were involved with said weapons. This was the actual gun used to kill Brother George Jackson. As you mentioned in your talk about the intentions of museums, that display correctly showed me what was important to the state. Thank you for your podcast, BPM Forever. Well, thank you, K at SQ. So K at San Quentin. Wow. So they actually have at San Quentin on display the weapon that was used to kill George Jackson. That's deep. That says a lot. And I agree that you've got, so K at San Quentin, you've captured it perfectly what my argument is. If it's not a fully correct argument, I apologize, but you've at least captured it correctly. That's exactly my point.
Yeah. Dylan Rodriguez was talking about that in his recent book. So
I haven't seen the new one yet. I got to get caught up. I was still working my way through the last one. These cats, man, these writing ass cats, boy. Dylan out here doing all this work. He got some nerve.
Trying to be like a young Gerald Horn out here.
You know what I'm saying? In the time you took you to say that, Horn published 3 more books.
Boom. Set the press.
Will Mars, a former critic, back to said I spit in this discussion. Thank you, Will. Appreciate you. From
look at you growing on people.
You know what I'm saying?
That's what's up, man.
Keep coming back. Anyway.
Hey man, we might have to get Bunchy on here, man, to be a descending voice for Woman is King, because it sounds like he rocking with it. And I need to call him and see if we
Bunchy Shakur. Yeah, come on, anybody. Yeah. I've invited everybody back. Like I'm like everybody I see who would want to. Let's do it. I'm open to hearing the arguments. We just may not agree. That's all. LeahTV.com says, like the film or not, it has done the great job. It got made, and that was not easy at all. The fact that it has got people talking about West African history is the blessing. I have lived in West Africa, and if you really want to know something real, you need to reach out at least one country you need to reach at least one country out of the 54. Reading books will not bring you into the reality. You have to walk the walk. Leah Tunkara. Thank you, Leah, for the comment. And let me just say a couple things, and then Geechee jump on in. One, no, I don't agree that the film being made at all is a victory. I never agree that the quote unquote discussions it's starting are A, either happening, or B, leading to anything meaningful. And often the way these discussions are brought up and framed do the topic and subject harm, and don't lead us to anywhere more fruitful. And then it's then I hope, Leah, you're not suggesting that any of my critiques are for a lack of experience on the continent. I think it's safe to say, given what I think I understand about the class position and travel on the continent, that I've seen more of the African continent than most continental Africans. I think I could say that. I think that's safe to say. I've seen more of the African continent than most continental Africans. Most continental Africans have not seen as much of their own continent as I have, for good or for bad. The other thing about that is that when you travel somewhere, that doesn't necessarily mean you have a greater understanding of what the hell is going on there. There are people who are born and raised here in the United States and don't know a damn thing about what's going on here. So I don't think, I don't agree that you can replace books with travel, and I don't agree that you can fully avoid travel with books to properly understand something. But at the same time, to understand the history of Africa, I don't think you need to actually physically visit today's Africa. I don't think a visit to contemporary Africa automatically guarantees you're going to understand the history of it. Though, as I said, I've seen more of the continent than most continental Africans. And people would still argue that doesn't, and I might agree with them, that doesn't mean that I know more about the continent than any of the people there or who haven't seen as much. Anyway, thank you, Leah, for the comment. Please keep them coming. Geechee, what you think? Anything you want to add to that?
I mean, I think that's my point. Like, so this concept of not reading books or reading the book ain't gonna blah blah blah. The movie is based off a book or somebody's interpretation of a book, right? So, for instance, if you hear the the Amazons of Black Sparta, right, is what the guy, whatever that Ivy League black guy who was consulting, told Viola, go read this book so you can, embody this. You could have done the same shit with Walter Whitney book or somebody else's book.
How about
so it's
that?
like, so it's always this idea of like, I think this is kind of the type of people, and I don't know the lady, but this is the type of people that I'm speaking to, is like, they don't want you to talk none of that conscious black shit or whatever. And then when a movie come up based off of some subversive shit or some bullshit, all of a sudden, they moving us forward as a people. Or as your homeboys say, cinematic reparations. We getting cinematic reparations off of some bullshit. So I don't know, man. I would like, again, I like those people to be on panels and speak in real time, and then seeing how they respond to having their contradictions raised. So if you ask them to store some shit,
no, you're right on. I'd also be interested to hear from Leah and those who feel this way. Do you think there are any negatives to the film being made? Or do you think, from the perspective of those who support the film being made in the industry, that they find value for their politics in the film as you are finding it for yours? I don't think that side is much often considered. Anyway, Nigel Ralph Murphy says here in response to the museums conversation, I wonder what the point of museums are in this day and age. And I especially wonder the point of memorializing pain and suffering. To me, it's almost obscene to have museums about genocides and institutional crimes and violence and atrocities. No matter how respectfully you try to show these things, there are still a feeling that exhibiting evidence of these deeply personal events is being done for our entertainment. It just cheapens the whole thing. Such things are obscene to have museums. Such things are too deeply painful and traumatic to display to people as Saturday afternoon entertainment followed by an ice cream and a movie. These things should be discussed as if in the church or a sacred space with all due spirituality. Seriousness as when attending a funeral. All such museums should be abolished. I mean, I'm not mad at that. Nigel continues, the museums constructed in the non-European world post-World War II commemorate and celebrate and show the cultures of their own countries, which is completely the opposite of what European museums were created for, subverting the master's narratives. I don't think that's why they were created, but anyway, European museums were not created to just show African culture. They housed looted trophies from all over the world. They proved that Europeans own the whole world. And so, Nigel, I wasn't saying that museums were created to house African culture. I don't think you heard me. What I was saying, particularly quoting Ayeli Bakari, or at least referring to Ayeli Bakari, was that the colonizers saw the trophies of their conquered as giving value to their own civilization. That's what the point was. Like, from their own perspective, they were like, European city centers are improved in their stature by showing how much they've captured from their African colonies. So I think I do understand, and I'm not sure you understand what I was saying, but thanks for your comment. Richard Sheffield says, in response to HBUs, hip hop and HBCUs, we have something special in I'm Will and BPM. We get perspectives on life and history that is needed. I agree. Thank you very much, Richard. Appreciate it. That's why we wanted to do this. Thank you very much. From the Scholarship of Hip Hop, Gannibal. I had to watch this, then rewatch the Museum I'm Will episode. Its connection is integral to the clarity of how imperialism, colonialism works. Also, as Bill Hicks said, when an artist does commercial, he, she is a sellout and have lost every inch of credibility of being seen as an artist. You are now part of the establishment. I agree. And Bill Hicks was a legendary white comic, by the way, folks aren't familiar with him. And my favorite conspiracy theory, because Bill Hicks is said to have died, I think, of cancer in the 80s or early 90s, maybe. Or or was he said to have disappeared? Something like that. And if you go back and look at the old YouTube clips, or if you remember him as a young person, as I did from those comedy specials on just whatever, he was a small guy. But one of my favorite conspiracy theories was that a brother told me years ago, he said, if you look carefully, you'll notice that Alex Jones is really a fat Bill Hicks, that Bill Hicks killed himself off as a radical political comic and reinvented himself as a showman conservative TV host. And he meant it. Like, this was like a legit belief, like conspiracy, like, so I said, that's interesting. And I went back and I looked at Alex, and when you look at Alex Jones, it's like, he does look like a fat Bill Hicks. And you're right. I'm probably not radical enough for Red Emmas. That's probably why there hasn't been much engagement. You're right. You're probably right.
Yeah, man.
Anyway,
listen, them cats over there, your D Watkins, man. Like, if you was radical enough, then you would have been able to made your a writing episode for what's that show again? The police joint.
We Own These Streets.
We Own These Streets. See, but
I think my one time there, I was on a panel with Watkins.
With D?
I think that's where we were on a panel together. I think so.
Yeah, I facilitated a panel with D on there before. He's a good brother. Him, Devin, and all of them. Kwandani, all of them. But this political thing, I don't know. They're trying to get the bag too.
Let's see. Bruh says, y'all sure do not talk about anything of value to Black people. Music and politics ain't going to save us. So I feel like, bruh, you made a comment on a video that you didn't watch. I just don't think you could watch something that you can't watch my discussion of hip hop and make that conclusion. Nobody argued that music and politics are going to save us. Nobody made that argument. So I feel like you didn't really watch, but thanks for your comment. Keep them coming. Chuck C says, I never looked at that perspective before. And you know what? I should have clicked the timestamp. What is the, you know what? I'm just going to assume you meant the whole thing. The whole perspective there is, so I appreciate it, Chuck. That's what we try to do. Bring you something different. Desiree again. I hear you mention Dr. Greg Carr a lot, and it's very nice to actually hear him speak. He really lays it out clear. See, Geechee, I told you. And then I love the little convo that was sparked at the end where Dr. Ball brought up C. Dolores Tucker, I believe. Yep. Being right piece on I Mix What I Like. And that is a shameless plug because there was no shame on Dr. Ball's face. I have to check that out right now. Yes, absolutely. And thank you for sharing with us. That was incredible. I was hella blind to underestimate hip hop and what it means to everything around it. And much of what was said here does point far outside of hip hop too. I got to highlight the quote from Dr. Jared Ball from this ep. How do you know what you know, and why do you like what you like? I don't want to condemn what you like, but I do want you to analyze why you've reached that certain conclusion. And again, thank you, Desiree, but I'm paraphrasing a former professor who we disagreed on everything except his point that you have to interrogate your preferences. So that's what I've just simplified that line there. But thank you very much. And see, Geechee, Dr. Carr be laying it out.
I guess I just can't get the ball and lay it in because it just don't work for me.
You don't be hearing it. Red Sea, you should absolutely continue going to these events to counter the Black capitalist gospel and Black radical education. Black capitalism is such powerful propaganda now laced with the language of woke imperium that despite the actual waiting, Red Sea definitely pays attention. Appreciate you. Despite the actual economic reality, people keep believing that they will save and crypto invest themselves out of poverty economic struggle. I understand that it gives people an illusory sense of control. Can we ban the word entrepreneurial from job descriptions, resumes, etc.? Unless you're a VC, venture capitalist, hedge fund, or multinational, you don't own the means of production to create or develop economic ventures. It must be, if we must, let's replace it with ambitious. Right on. And thanks for your comment.
Bitcoin as Black liberation. Coming to a
Toshi
church.
is Black.
Coming to a church HBCU near you.
Satoshi is Black. That was my favorite one. I almost bought one of those shirts, man.
Hey man, did you get on that bus?
That one.
Did you get on that little bus though?
No.
Man, that Bitcoin bus looked dope, man. I think I want. I'm asking.
No, I didn't do any of that. I paneled and then was out. It was not,
Yeah.
Faith D says, you definitely got your point through at the summit. The disruption seemed to be because they just aren't ready to hear the truth, caught up in the rat race that has become part of their identity, perhaps, and livelihood, of course. Anyway, love how your daughters get to experience this with you, and you got people thinking and open to learning more. So it seems to me it went very well. Unrelated side note, that Nipsey Hussle description at the bagel place got me laughing so hard. Thank you, Faith. I appreciate you all the way around. And I'm telling you, brother, look like I'm telling you, it clearly wasn't Nipsey, obviously, but I promise you the brother was going for that look. Somebody in his life, somebody I bet that he thinks is cute, said to him, you remind me of Nipsey. And he was like, the chemicals clicked off or whatever. And
he said, neighborhood Nip, me?
He was
neighborhood Nip.
And he went all in. He
clicked
all the Google photos, got the hair, he was like everything. He did everything he could do to lean into that. I'm not mad at that. Because back in the 80s, somebody said, you remind me of I'll Be Sure. And I went all in. I went all in. Gotta be done there, oh girl, gotta get over you. Dancing down the halls and stuff. Got my trimmed up the facial hair, got the high top fade.
New Jack City.
Hey, New Jack City ruined it. Christopher Williams ruined my life.
Oh man, that's New Jab City. That's who you had look like in one of them pictures. I ain't gonna lie, bro. I thought you.
No, because Kalanji set me up and he did it right, and that's how it went. But Christopher Williams is the one that ruined it when he let himself get beat like a rented mule in New Jack City. I was out like the very next day. It was like I went to the school bus. I went to the corner and everybody was like, "Nope,
damn,
nope." You used to look like I'll Be Sure. Now you definitely look like Christopher Williams, and we don't want nothing to do with you.
But back to you laying it out at the summit. I feel when the sister said this was an important topic and it's most important, and we schedule it right before lunch, that actually gave evidence that she could have let you go over time a little bit, because that little moving around, walking to lunch.
Oh, I mean, it was clear. Obviously.
Yeah, people could have been walking away still listening if they didn't want to listen. But
look, I showed her the timer on my clock. So you saw me get interrupted, and you also saw that I had time on the clock. So she could have, but
I mean, if they give Reggie time to take his shirt off, man, I don't understand why they didn't give my brother a little bit more time.
Did he really take his shirt off?
He took his shirt off. He's showing bullet wounds. And I try to go back to our debate to see what he said about the bullet wounds, because I remember he said, I'm black. Look, I got a bullet wound. I can't remember.
Yeah, he said that was his blackness. He said he got shot. That's how he was proving his blackness. And
he did the same shit at the conference while he's trying to teach the audience capitalism. That dude is funny, though, actually. I think it's satire at this point.
Dude is definitely talented. Look, when I've watched him in the video, he's definitely got a skill set. you know, but
I don't know if it's a skill set or people just think he rich and then being associated. I don't know, because I don't know. I've been through Toastmasters and I've seen good speakers. That dude ain't a good speaker, and he ain't even really good at it.
I don't
at all.
All right, well, all right.
Now,
Well,
I ain't about to say he no good, and Kinsey ain't that good either. Like come on, like
I thought she was very good.
No,
I think. Go ahead.
No, I think it's the lines that's there. Like she's not an engaging type speaker. Like I mean, I've seen her a couple times. It's not. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm being biased, but I've seen people with homiletics and people who are really good at getting people emotionally connected. And I think it's just the numbers. Like if you say the buzzword of 1.5 trillion or buying power or circulate the dollar or Black Wall Street, when you saying them lines, that's what's getting
but that's my point. When I'm saying she's good, I'm saying the applause lines, what's going to get the oohs and the ahs, and you deliver it in a certain way. She's got she had, I mean, again, you saw like she had the whole, she was done up. She had the hair, she was ready. She was like, and so I'm saying that she's good. It's not accurate, but I thought she was a good and a captivating speaker. And honestly, I think it could be argued that depending on your initial bias, I think even the way she interrupted me and cut me off could be seen as being skillful. Like, and it could have even come off as dominant as opposed to fearful and disruptive. Like, I don't know. I mean,
I think it was hella tactical, especially when the last point when the sister was taking the mic from you, she was like, yeah, like you criticizing influencers and educators instead of imparting information to the people to raise their consciousness. I'm like, that's literally what he's doing. But like, so I think that was pretty tactical. And then the people like, oh yeah, he, hating on the brothers. So of course if you know your audience, you can use them, but I don't know people who can.
And that's what I mean by being good. Like you that is a part of it. I think that is part of it. So anyway, KT says, Dr. Ball, I'm glad you mentioned the most recent season of Atlanta. I would love for you to discuss it when you finish. I thought it was good symbolism about the current mainstream hip hop and escaping into European cultures. Surprisingly or unsurprisingly, I haven't seen many people discuss or even review it, unlike the earlier, sillier seasons. Honestly, I don't watch Atlanta as closely as I do other things. So I don't watch it. I don't binge watch it. I catch it here and there, and I just happened to catch that more recent episode with the discussion of hip hop and I think it was really well done. The white avatar to prolong your career. But yeah, maybe I will come back and check it out and do something more with it. And we'll see, definitely, because a lot of what I end up watching or responding to is something that's brought up in a class with my students. So we'll see what gets brought up. And if they come back to Atlanta, maybe I'll come back to it some more. Gravy Dale says, Big Dr. Ball, although not in this video, once upon a time I heard you make a passing quote in a broadcast expressing that the concept of categorization of certain forms of media as entertainment is itself as a form of propaganda. Could you expound on this a little, please? In fact, I can. In fact, I have something ready for that this morning. So let me just stop sharing that. There's more, but just one thing I can share very quickly is that, and this is from a book by Nancy Snow, who is a white woman and a professor who also teaches media studies and propaganda, who also has her own, she's written a lot on propaganda, but she also in the early 90s worked for USAID. So she, as she says herself, has, an insider's view of how the state uses propaganda. And I've used a number of her books over the years. And in fact, I was trying to get her on this show. She teaches in Japan. So there was some issue. She talking about scheduling, but she did say she's going to use my book in her classes there. So that was, I was pretty impressed by that. But she said, but just to answer that particular question, this is just something that I think will point you in the direction. Again, my favorite on this is Francis Stoner Saunders' work, The Cultural Cold War, where you get a very detailed exploration of how Western empire has used entertainment in the art world. But from Nancy Snow's book here, I just have this highlighted section where she's talking about propaganda and entertainment. Of all mass media that have developed since the first penny press in the 1830s, no medium has been more thoroughly examined and excoriated. Wait a minute. This section is actually talking about film in particular, because that's what that quote is talking about. What section is this? So this is from, so this is Garth S. Jowett's Propaganda as Entertainment chapter in Nancy Snow's book, Propaganda and American Democracy. All right. So it's an edited anthology, Propaganda and American Democracy by Nancy Snow. And in it is this chapter by Garth Jowett called Propaganda as Entertainment. Very quickly, propaganda is the deliberate systematic attempt to shape perceptions, manipulate cognitions, and direct behavior to achieve a response that furthers the desired intent of the propagandist. There is, however, an inherent problem with using this definition of propaganda when dealing with entertainment, because it is often extremely difficult to discern with any certainty whether there is, in fact, a deliberate systematic attempt to insert specific messages intended to achieve a response other than to entertain. If one takes seriously, excuse me, if one takes seriously the theoretical concept which forms the underpinning of critical analysis, that there is no such thing as value-free content in entertainment, and that all content has meaning for the audience, then literally every form of entertainment can be considered to fall under the definition of propaganda. So, in summary, in an overview, in simplification, that is my approach to that question. That is, I don't differentiate between entertainment and propaganda in the way we're often encouraged to, because of what is said here, that when you're looking at what the meaning of propaganda, then as Jowett is saying, it is then literally every form of entertainment can be considered to fall under this definition of propaganda, because there is always an intent to create or to achieve a specific response in the audience. In the context of a colonial relationship, even if the goal is simply to entertain, as we are popularly conceive of that term, then it has to be politicized and I think criticized, if not fully condemned. Because what is being encouraged in the context of a colonial experience? Why would we encourage anyone to just simply be entertained in that experience? We would, if anything, want them to find no entertainment in this experience and to organize it out of existence. So anyway, that's at least how I approach it. And that's why I'm saying, again, my general approach is to say that, and as Jowett actually goes into later on in that chapter, he talks a little bit about, I think this is where I'm also getting some of that argument, that the use of the term entertainment is understood by propagandists to lower our defense mechanism. So it's encouraged that people take that position. It's just a movie. It's just a song. Dr. Ball's doing too much. I just want to entertain. I just want to relax. I do it myself. At the end of almost every night, I try to, before I go to bed, I try to watch something that's foolish and silly, simply because I don't want to be going to bed off of something horrific and serious. So, but I'm doing it consciously. I'm willfully engaging in something that is meant, I'm wanting to do what it's intending to do, distract me from the reality that I'm in living. So I'm not saying it's good. I'm saying I'm recognizing that I'm doing that. And I'm saying that the intent behind those who produce it is to encourage that all the time, to just simply entertain so that people are not raising the kinds of questions we should be raising. Anyway, Geechee, you want to add or jump in on that?
No, I think somebody was sending me a text about this concept of like these people, these influencers, like, Earn Your Leisures, Ian Dunlap, these people, like they are showing some kind of leadership ability because they're able to speak to people immediate needs and perceive interest and all this other stuff. And I guess that sometimes comes as this thing of like, well, they're doing it, what are you doing, or why are you wait, you just mad because you don't have to follow, or whatever the case may be, right, as opposed to disabusing the audience or putting out information. It's almost like this concept of like, we wasting our time critiquing these people, or we're wasting our time disabusing people, or out propagandizing them, as Ricky would say. So I guess I think about that from the average person. Like the average person, especially if you're organizing in different communities, like they're not even privy to most of the stuff that we try to share with them, but they do get that propaganda from these people because they regurgitate them without any kind of like critical thought or questioning of anything. Like I remember times when I like even that little silly practice of like, okay, let's circulate dollar. You got $2, I got $2. Let's circulate it. Does wealth grow there? And they're like, oh no, damn, I never think about that. Like just little basic thoughts like that. People don't even, I guess have the time or capacity to even think about. So I don't know. I think it's like this conundrum of like knowing the media apparatus behind them and how sophisticated it is, knowing what we need to do. And then you got us among us saying like, oh, we wasting our time, critiquing these people. Like the brother said, oh, all y'all talk about is, this shit. I don't know.
And this is sort of my point. I mean, when Emma is correctly saying that there is no such thing as just entertainment, that's my point. But to support both Emma and my own argument is that, and this is what is on the one hand, the most exciting thing for me about having to have the privilege of this particular form of study I've engaged, but also the frustration is that because most people have not done that, is that, or had that privilege to do that, is that the support for mine and Emma's argument is from the perspective of those who put this together, from the perspective of those in power. They have said, and again, that's why Stoner Saunders' book is so important. That's why Alfred and Seckler's work on national security cinema is so important, and Operation Hollywood and books like that are so important, because from the perspective of those in the Glander, the Levine's work on the history of mass comm, Chris Simpson's work, all the stuff I reference all the time is that from their perspective, they've said in no uncertain terms, entertainment, as we are calling it, is to be used for decidedly counterinsurgency, psychological warfare purposes. So it's not about, so Geechee, to your point, it's frustrating that it's not that it's my opinion or anything about my desire for audience or whatever, or hate or whatever. It's that this is what they have said. This is how they approach it. So even in the context of hip hop, and particularly as it was happening, people got mad at me all the time. But I was like, Hillary Clinton as Secretary of State just said last week in 2015, we're using hip hop to project a positive image of the United States around the world, just like we did in the 50s with jazz. So you can't just turn around to me and say, oh, it's just music. Because they're just acknowledging from the perspective of power, it's not just music. It's counterinsurgency, it's psychological warfare, it's imperialism. So, anyway. Look, all right, the last one here from Kamani Jefferson. I read a book called Banking on Freedom, Black Women in the U.S. Finance Before the New Deal by Shanette Garrett Scott, and it touched on this. They couldn't keep up with the white banks, and they also pretty much out-lobbied, regulated out of success. Black cooperatives are in the same condition. I got interested in the book because I was interested in credit unions. Permanent recession is too modest. Black folks are in a permanent depression. So this is in response to what we were talking about at the Black Blockchain Summit. But I have not read this book. I've only read an article or two about the book and a review or two of the book. And that seems to be what Kamani says here, seems to capture a lot of what I thought I was reading, that people were who, in a couple of instances, people were promoting the book as something good that we can learn from today, but the author seemed to be saying herself that none of these are successful. None of this was successful. So like going back to Abram Harris's work, whether we do private business or cooperatives, capitalism prevents any equality, even among whites. So you're not catching up. And that's that. That's that. But anyway, listen, look, Geechee, Diallo, when he was here, all of the remixers who hung out all morning long, we're almost on 3.5 hours this morning. Much appreciation. Thank you for the comments. Please keep them coming. And I'll try to address them and get to them as much as possible. And so definitely keep
put it in the comments.
And support our fundraisers. The link is in the description. And because we don't want to
Got punked again.
The clip of that, man, that's the whole clip is him saying our offensive line got punked again. And I was like, yeah, that's, anyway, Detroit is so glad. But listen, Geechee, anything you want to let us know before we get out of here? Any last
absolutely, man. The think tank is going over and doing the best to support this Kevin Johnson's clemency campaign. There's a Vimeo video. I just put it in the link in the chat, but there's a Vimeo video about his story, and you can kind of obviously get behind stopping the state from murdering him in November. So if you're interested or you have time, you can check out that video, but definitely you can sign the petition to prevent them people from taking the man's life.
I will put the link in the show description, and then I'm also dropping it in the chat as well. And I appreciate you for raising that up. And we definitely want to continue to support him and all other political prisoners. So definitely thank you for that. And listen, have a good weekend, everybody. I'll be back Monday morning. We got Warrior class and Sundays. I'm also going to be on Sunday. Got a special Sundays event, a birthday mix, something we got going on for Libras and Virgos between me and Ear Doctor. So check that out. And as always, like Fred Hampton used to say to you, we say peace if you're willing to fight for it. So peace, everybody. Catch you next time here at I Mix What I Like. Thanks again.
I mix what I like, what I like, what I like, what I like, what I like.
They say when you wear Black Power Media gear, you can accomplish anything. You can play any and every position. From coaching, to kicking, to receiving, to running and juking. And, oh my goodness, I see that again in slow motion. Get off me. And you're going to have a lot of haters coming at you, but what you got to do is you got to shake them off, and get to your goal and accomplish it. And when that's done, it's a beautiful thing. I'm talking about going hard, extra, for that extra point. And when it's done beautifully, you talking about touchdown. Oh, and the crowd goes wild and they're celebrating with you and everything. Man, let's see that again. Nice.
Black Power Media, baby. That's how we do it.
Now go to blackpowermedia.org and get you some of that gear. Power yourself today. Yeah.